Good afternoon, friends. I'm Dr. Aajay Shah, and this is our another Facebook Live. Today's topic is a very special topic to me, actually. Over last, 3 years, I've been promoting a healthy lifestyle, particularly about physical health. But I realize now that mental health is as important as physical health, and obviously the spiritual health also. So mental health obviously has many features to it. Happiness is one of the most important feature in terms of mental health. People who are happy in general have less chance of depression, less chance of anxiety, less chance of post-traumatic disorder, less chance of panic disorder, less chance of even many other mental illnesses. So happiness is the basic requirement for all mental health, happiness. If you think of it, there are people with, $1,000 in their bank account, people with $1 million in their bank account, people with $1 billion in their bank account. But many of us know that all of them are not happy necessarily. So having money in the bank account is not necessarily a currency one want to have. People have a small house, people have a big house, but not necessarily everyone living in a big house is happy. So again, that's not an ultimate currency also. So again, I'm going to try to prove today that happiness, in my opinion, is the ultimate currency we all should aim for. Again, happiness is the ultimate currency we all should aim toward. Sorry for this little technical difficulty here. So again, if we start with our Declaration of Independence, it clearly says life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So in America, we believe that everybody uh, has a right to be happy, and this obviously applies to everybody in the world. Our great president, one of my beloved president, Abraham Lincoln, said that most folks are about as happy as they make up their mind to be. So again, happiness partly depends in our mind. There's a great quote by Anna Pavlova, and she clearly says that the right to happiness is fundamental. So again, our right to happiness is very fundamental. Viktor Frankl, the great psychiatrist from Holocaust area, says clearly that it's very pursuit of happiness that thwarts the happiness. So again, I also sincerely believe that when we go after happiness, happiness actually goes away. When we do certain things in life, happiness comes towards us. So again, going towards happiness is not necessarily the right thing to do. It almost says that you cannot pursue the happiness ensues. So happiness happens automatically when you do certain things. Again, some quick disclaimer. Obviously, if you're watching this live in this YouTube video, please note that this is not going to replace any medical advice. If you have any mental health, please reach out to your primary care physician. Obviously, I'm not going to gain any financial interest by giving this seminar. My great dedication to, great thank you to Jayshree, my wife, Amis, our son, Saloni, my parents, and definitely to our social media manager, Hannah, to all my friends and followers. Obviously, I learned a lot from all of you, from all the friends and followers, as I understand your concerns, your problems, your medical problems, your health problems, your psychological problems. Not only I learn from it, I look up for the answers, and that teaches me also how to be happy and healthy. So again, thank you to all of you. Uh, this video is going to be on YouTube eventually. Reach out to our YouTube channel, Healthy Living with Dr. Aajay Shah. We have a lot of good videos. This video will be eventually on YouTube also. So if you are watching live, obviously you are with me, but if you are not watching live, please watch out on the YouTube also. So how are we going to do this seminar? This seminar starts with the why this seminar is needed. What are some of the definitions we're going to cover? What makes us not happy? And then we will cover what makes us happy. And then we will also cover how to make good habits, which makes us happy. Then I will have some conclusions. And at the end of the day, I will have your home assignment. So why I'm giving this seminar? I'm giving this seminar because I love to learn. That's my passion. I love to learn. I read every day 200 pages. I watch a lot of learning videos on YouTube. So I love to learn. But more importantly, I love to share my knowledge. I love to discuss in an interactive way with all my friends and family members. As a matter of fact, I learn more by interacting with my knowledge to all of you. I'm board certified in lifestyle medicine and cardiology. Lifestyle medicine for the last 3 years. And I realized that not only in lifestyle medicine, we stress that physical health is important, but mental health is also very important. I also sincerely believe that learning together is fun. What we are doing right now in an interactive way is definitely a fun. Healthy lifestyle for all of us, including you, including me, is my mission for next 40, 50 years, whatever I'm going to live. I have read about 30 books on happiness over the last 6 months. I watched almost 200 hours or more on YouTube on happiness, and I've prepared this lecture, which will be in about 2.5, 3 hours. And I'm patient myself. I've gone through major depression 10 years ago. I've recovered from it. So I have personal experience of what many people go through. But the most importantly, the reason I do this Facebook Live on a regular basis, the reason I like to share my knowledge is most important is because I care about you. I feel what you go through. I feel what you go through with this COVID-19 crisis. And definitely, I care about you. So that's the main reason I'm doing this live. So, for the people who can see on the screen, I have 3 pictures of me smiling big. And clearly it says that, do I look happy enough here to give a talk on happiness? I am basically a happy person. I've always has been happy. We all have gone ups and downs in our life. And I had, a few months in life where I was depressed. I did not have the traditional happiness people have. A lot of physical luxury, a lot of material thing with me, but mentally I wasn't happy. But now I'm happy. So we all go through those happiness and unhappiness in our life. But definitely lately I've been very happy. You can see it in these pictures. So this ends our first segment. I have total about 20 segments in this lecture. After each segment, we will have few seconds of reflection to go over to what we already have covered. On the YouTube, these segments will be divided into 20 segments, so you can watch one segment at a time. Again, we are on Facebook. Please like our Facebook page. Also, please invite your friends on our Facebook page. We post 3 to 5 times a day on healthy lifestyle, and they definitely will benefit. So invite your friends and family members. So what is the reflection for this segment? My question to all of you is, how happy you are on the scale of 1 to 5? How happy are you? So just take a brief moment to have your own answer in your own head, how happy you are. My next reflection question to all of you is, what are some of the things that make you happy or has made you happy? So have a list of quick 2 or 3 things in your mind. That could be your spouse, your life partner, your kids, your job, your parents, your brother, your sister, or maybe a material thing you own. What things make you happy? Maybe a pet. And the next reflection is, what are the reasons sometimes you get unhappy? So what are the reasons sometimes you get unhappy? Just have a few seconds in your head, in your mind, to think what things make you unhappy. And I will try my best to see how can I lead you towards the journey of happiness. So again, there are 20 segments. We are on YouTube, Healthy Living with Dr. Aajay Shah. We are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, invite your friends. We are also on Instagram. So look us up in all the different social media. There are 20 segments. So again, this is segment number 2. I'm Dr. Aajay Shah. I'm Dr. Aajay Shah. We are doing a happiness workshop, and this is segment number 2. Please watch segment number 1 if you have not watched segment number 1 yet. This is segment number 2. So the authors which I followed for giving this lecture, there are many authors I've followed. Uh, the number 1 author is Martin Seligman. I absolutely love him. Martin Seligman. Martin Seligman is the father of positive psychology, which we'll cover. He has written many books. The most popular books are Learn Optimism, Flourish, Authentic Happiness. The second author is Ed Diner. Ed Diner, one of the great giant in positive psychology. The third author, which I love also, is Barbara Fredrickson, and she has written a book called Positivity, a great book. I read it in one setting. Other book she has written is Love 2.0. The other author is Sanya Libermaski, a great author again, Harvard trained and she has written a book called How of Happiness. And she has also written another book called Myths of Happiness. The next author is Daniel Gilbert, and he has written a book, Stumbling on Happiness. Next author is Robert Ammons, and he has written a great book on gratitude works and also a book called Thanks. Next author is Liz Dunn. I also like her. She has written a book called Happy Money. And essentially in that book, I have that book, I've read it. She explains how you can use your surplus money towards happiness. Instead of wasting your money away towards material thing, how you can use your surplus money to get happy. There is another great author, one of my favorite author, Rich Hanson. He has written a book called Resilient, Buddha's Brain. Matter of fact, he has written many books. Next author is author Nick Apley. And then there is another author, Darlene Minini. Gabrielle Oettingen is another author which I like. She has designed this WHOOP method, which we will cover in our talk. Next author is also my favorite author, Tal Ben-Shahar. He has written a book called Happier, a great book. Howard Cutler is another author. Next favorite author is Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. I hope I didn't kill his name. He has written a book called Flow. Next author is Ellen Langer, the first tenured women professor in psychology at Harvard. She has also written many other books. The next favorite author is Sean Aker. He is also one of the big giant in positive psychology, and he has written a book called Happiness Advantage and Before Happiness. Gretchen Rubin is another author. She has written a book called Happiness Project. Another favorite author of mine is Paul Stolz. He has written a book called Adversity Quotient. And another favorite author, which we all know, all of us know in the world, obviously because of his quality, because of his character, because of his charisma, because of his discipline, is the Dalai Lama. And he has written a book called Art of Happiness. I have read that book, a great book. So again, this is the picture of my favorite author on positive psychology. Matter of fact, he's considered father of positive psychology, and he is Martin Seligman. And you can clearly see the happiness on his face, the big smile, and he just looked like a happy big grandpa. So again, Martin Seligman. I must say that a lot of the material I prepared for this lecture comes from a great course on a Coursera, and it's called Science of Well-Being, Science of Well-Being. And that's by Lori Santos, one of the great psychology professor. She's at Yale, Harvard trained, all Ivy League trained, and her course is very popular. Matter of fact, one of the most watched course on Coursera. I'll be giving a lot of credit to Lori Santos. She has a podcast called Happiness Lab. So here she is, Lori Santos from Yale University, Science of Well-Being course on Coursera. You can clearly see the happiness on her face, big smile, just a radiant, vibrant, happy woman from Yale. Thank you, Lori. So why this seminar is needed? This seminar is badly needed in America and definitely in the world also. Depression affects about 10% of, actually 20 to 30% of Americans. 10% of Americans are antidepressant. And matter of fact, in America, functional depression is also very common. where many people are quote unquote functioning normally. They are going work, they are taking care of their family, but deep down they are depressed. They are not achieving the maximum potential of their life. So there are a lot of functional depression. But like again, 10% of Americans are antidepressant. Average age for starting depression in America is now age 14. So many young kids are also getting depression. Anxiety is about 20% of Americans, obviously very high. Many Americans go through 1 to 2 anxiety attacks per week. Suicide rate is increasing. Matter of fact, last 3 years, longevity in America has gone down, and that's partly because of young age suicide. 40% of Americans are unhappy with life. 40%. America being the richest country, the strongest country, 40% of Americans are unhappy. In England, in the UK, in 1975, 52% of Britishers were happy. Now that number has gone down to 36%. So 64% of British people are unhappy. And emotional bankruptcy, I call it, the rate has gone very high. So emotional bankruptcy is very high. A lot of people are making money. Stock market has gone up. Lately it's gone down, but over the last 10 years, stock market has gone up, but a lot of emotional bankruptcy are happening. Uh, Depression drugs are 4 times more now than 30 years ago. So again, a lot of people are on antidepressant. We also have a new insight on how to be happy. And that new insight led me to give this seminar because we know so much more about what makes us happy. So it's better to spread the new knowledge. And partly this seminar is based because we have a lot of new insights. We definitely need a lot of societal change, and we need a better public policy. Recent college graduates are 40% unhappy. Recent college graduates are 40% unhappy. That's pretty concerning because college graduates, young, with lots of zeal, lots of energy, lots of knowledge, lots of dreams, and 40% of them are unhappy. During the college and high school, many college and many high school students have depression, anxiety. Matter of fact, there was a one Harvard survey done, and in Harvard, obviously the top Ivy League college, during the 4 years at Harvard, almost 80% of students had some form of mental disorder. Many of them had depression and anxiety. So even at Harvard College, there are a lot of unhappiness. Workplace unhappiness is at 50%. So 50% of Americans at work are unhappy. That needs to change. And obviously, no matter where you are in happiness journey, we all can be happier. So this happiness seminar, the workshop, even though if you're happy right now, applies to you also. Because if you're happy today, you can be happier tomorrow. And more importantly, lately, the COVID-19 crisis has led to much stress in our life, a lot of unhappiness. So we will also cover how to overcome COVID-19 crisis. So let's see why the antidepressant use has gone up in America. 10% of Americans are on antidepressant. In my opinion, the prevalence of depression has gone up significantly. We have better screening and diagnosis. We have better number of psychologists, and we have also more psychiatrists. So early diagnosis of depression is made. We have better drugs for depression now, so a lot less side effect. And that's the reason more and more people are able to tolerate the antidepressant drugs. More people want the drugs. People are reaching out for help. Some people obviously want a quick fix. So many people just said that, quote unquote, I feel depressed. Before doing anything healthy, they want a medicine. That's obviously a wrong thing to do. More people are reporting depression. Overall stress has gone up in America, which we will cover. Physical health has gone down because poor physical health is one of the major reasons for depression and unhappiness. And physical health in America definitely has gone down. We have stronger consumerism and wider income gap in America, and partly the reason stress has gone up. So this concludes our segment. Let's have some reflection. Why do you think world needs this type of seminar? What are your reasons we need this seminar? What is your personal reason why you should be attending this seminar, listening to this Facebook Live, and also going on a YouTube to watch our seminar on happiness? My next question for reflection is, are you on antidepressant? If you are watching this video, either on a live or on YouTube, are you on antidepressant? And if you are, do you want to get off your antidepressant under your doctor's supervision with doing certain healthy things? We will talk about that also. And the last reflection question is, which authors have you heard or read about positive psychology? So please, have your authors put a comment on our Facebook Live, and I'll be able to know what authors do you follow or you have read. So again, this concludes our current segment. There are total 20 segments in this seminar. Please watch those segments in sequence. If you're watching it on YouTube, we will go to next segment. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. Please share our page with your friends. We are also on Twitter and Instagram. So look us up and follow us on every social media. Thank you. Again, I'm Dr. Aajay Shah. We are doing a happiness workshop. This is segment number 3. If you have not watched segment 1 and 2, please watch segment 1 and 2 on YouTube, and we will start with segment number 3. So let's cover some definitions. Happiness by Merriam-Webster Dictionary is described as a state of well-being and contentment. State of well-being and contentment. Happiness is also described as joy. It's also defined as a pleasurable or satisfying experience. And matter of fact, it's very interesting that root word of happiness is hap, H-A-P-P. And actually the meaning of hap is luck. Pretty ironic, pretty interesting that the root word of happiness actually says luck. Hap means luck. So even though many of us think at times that we have to be lucky to be happy, but I'm going to prove it to you by the end of this seminar that you can do a lot of things to be happy. Obviously, everybody needs a good luck. I don't believe in luck in general in my life, but again, you can do a lot of other things. And I don't believe that you have to be lucky to be happy. You can be happy by doing certain things, which we'll talk about. There's a great Greek definition. I like this Greek definition, the wise people from 2,500 years ago, that Greeks define happiness as a joy. So joy that we feel has a meaning and which makes us grow towards our maximum potential and is long-term. Very comprehensive definition, very inclusive definition. A lot of the positive psychology actually has been derived by dissecting this definition. So again, this is the Greek definition. And in Greek time, this was defined as a eudaimonia, a big word, eudaimonia. Eudaimonia essentially translates as a good spirit. So when you have a time, look up the word eudaimonia on YouTube and watch the video on that. Look up the definition, read about it. Eudaimonia is a very important word. In my opinion, that essentially describes what we all should be, more than just the word happiness. There's another happiness is that when events happen to our expectations. So when events happen to our expectations, we are happy. And again, that depends upon what our expectations are. To give you an example, when a rain happens, for a farmer in India, that's a great thing. He or she would be very happy. So again, when the rain happens in an Indian farmer is very happy. Versus a vacationer in Italy going for a great vacation in Rome, and rain starts happening, he or she will be unhappy. So again, it's the same rain, but what our expectations were that makes us happy or unhappy. That brings us to one of the important quote by Blaise Pascal, that everyone without exception is searching for happiness. And that includes you, that includes me, that includes all of us. Everyone without exception is searching for happiness. So again, this brings to me an important question, that where does the final why question end? And I'll start with a small story. There was a fisherman resting on a beach, on an ocean, on a beach, And there was a CEO of a big company passing by. And CEO asked the fisherman, why are you just sitting on this beach? You should be going and fishing. So fisherman says, why? CEO says, if you go fish, if you catch a lot of fish, maybe you can buy a bigger boat and you can be rich. And CEO says, why? Fisherman says, why? The CEO says, if you become rich, maybe you can start your own small company. And one day you can have many employees. And fisherman says, why? The CEO says, then maybe you can have a big house, marry a great girl. And the fisherman says, why? The CEO says, well, then you'll be happy. The fisherman says, I'm happy already. Why would I go through the 10 steps you are asking me to go to be happy? So again, every time all why questions are asked, they end with happiness. So again, why do you want to get good grades in high school? To go to a good college. Why do you want to go to a good college? Because you want to have a good income. Why do you want to have a good income? Because you want to have a good living and a good life partner. But why do you want to have those? Because you want to be happy. So again, all why questions end in happiness. So instead of going through 100 steps in life, if you be happy without going through steps, that's the way it starts. So again, I always have said happy first, and then everything else can follow. And happiness can be a immediate thing happen. Like right now, while you're watching this thing, you can decide to be happy and then overcome all your struggles as it goes, but happy first. So is happiness a right term? Happiness, in my opinion, is well described term. At the same time, is an incomplete term. Incomplete term. The better definition is well-being, because happiness can be transient. For example, if I go for a walk in the nature, I can be happy for 1 hour, but my week could be very unhappy. So happiness is a very transient term. So happiness, in my opinion, is an incomplete term, and we'll talk about that. So well-being is a better term. Well-being is a long-term state. Well-being is a long-term state, and we all should have well-being, not just happiness. There's another term called flourishing. Happiness, in my opinion, is a very short-term thing, while flourishing is a long-term thing. It essentially is a journey. So when we are happy, our goal is to be happier. And that's where the flourishing concept comes in. The flourishing concept was given by Martin Seligman again. He has written a book on flourishing, great book. We all should read that. I've read that book. So again, flourishing is another concept. So goal for us is a long-lasting happiness, hopefully lifelong happiness with some ups and downs, obviously, and well-being and flourishing. So again, people ask me that why you want to be physically healthy, why you want to be mentally healthy, why you want to be spiritually healthy. I always say, why you want to be happy? Because happiness brings better physical health. People who are happy live long, they have less chronic disease, they exercise more, they sleep better, and they are in better physical health. If you are happy, they have better mental health, less depression, less anxiety, less post-traumatic disorder. People who are happy, they also have more material success. People who are happy, they typically have a more income. They're happy at their workplace. Again, happy people live longer. Happy people have better relationship. They have a better relationship with their life partner, their spouse, their kids, their parents, their friends. They sleep better. They are more creative. They're more productive. They have a better leadership skills. So happy people are better leaders, and they actually contribute more to society. They contribute more to society. Happy people have a lower healthcare cost. Happy people donate more. Happy people are better citizens. Happy people actually create more trusting society. Happy society typically have less crime. It's better for democracy. Happy people typically are kinder people. Happy people have more job satisfaction. They actually have more money. And even for corporations, where employees are happy, they have more corporate success, they have higher stock price, their employees are actually more creative. And Googleplex is a great example. People happy at work take their corporation very high. So again, every corporation now is thinking how to make their employee happy. So again, why to be happy? Many reasons. When we talk about happiness, people say, what is the opposite of happiness? In my opinion, opposite of happiness is not unhappy. People actually say that unhappy is the term, but in my opinion, unhappiness is not the opposite of happiness. It's actually apathy or apathy, because many times unhappiness could be a productive, constructive thing to do. When you are unhappy at work, you may change your job, you may get a new skill, and you go towards happiness. So unhappiness not necessarily a very bad thing. In my opinion, apathy is the worst scenario. So again, opposite of happiness is not unhappy in my opinion, it's apathy. People who develop apathy, uh, indifference, or no sensitivity, or no any kind of action, are the people who can lead to many physical and mental illness. So definitely apathy is the worst thing to go through. So this brings to a interesting slide. I searched word happiness on Google, and there were about billion entries on the word happiness. 1 billion entries. So you can imagine how many things you can search for on word happiness. And then I searched for the books on happiness, and there are millions of books on happiness. Some of them are as old as 3,000 to 2,000 years old. Though. So this brings to conclusion of our uh, next segment. This segment, let's end with some reflection. So, how happy, again, one more time, are you on a scale of 1 to 5? How happy are you? What things make you happy? What are your reasons to be unhappy? And when was the last time you felt that you had apathy towards life? We all have gone through that. I've gone through apathy many times in my life. Sometimes it's in days, sometimes it's in hours, sometimes it's in weeks. So when was the last time you felt apathy to life? Obviously, we need to come out of that apathetic stage. So we should never have apathy to anything. So this concludes our current segment. Again, there are 20 segments in this seminar. This is like a workshop. If you are watching on YouTube, uh, make sure you follow the sequence. We are on Twitter. We are also on Instagram. So please look us up. Invite your friends to like our page, like our social media platforms. Thank you. Once again, I'm Dr. Aajay Shah, and this is our happiness workshop. And I'm trying to prove that we all should have happiness as our ultimate currency. This is segment number 4. If you are on YouTube, if you have not watched segment 1, 2, and 3, please go ahead and watch segment 1, 2, and 3, and then start segment 4. So let's start with segment 4. Starts with a great quote from Adam Smith, the author of Wealth of Nations. It says that what can be added to happiness of a man who is in health, who has a good health, out of debt, and has a clear conscience. So again, great quote from Adam Smith that person who has health, person who has a financial stability and well-being, and has a clear conscience, that person can be happy. That brings to our ancient philosophy. Bible clearly says that let us leave sadness to the devil, and as for us, what can we but rejoicing and glad? Another Bible quote, the joyfulness of a man prolong his days. So people with joyfulness live long. And clearly Gita, a great book in Hindu scripture, says that happiness is a state of mind and has nothing to do with external world. And we will talk about that, what it means as we go through this lecture. My favorite quote, my most favorite quote, matter of fact, I'm going to have this quote at the end of my talk also. One of my most favorite quote is by Aristotle, a great Greek philosopher from about 400, 480, 450 AD. He's one of my favorite Greek philosopher. He says that happiness is the meaning, happiness is the meaning and the purpose of life. Meaning and purpose of life. The whole aim, actually everything, whole aim and end of human existence. So again, this definition includes everything we're going to talk about it. Again, happiness is the meaning and the purpose of life and the whole aim and end of human existence. A great quote. Please remember this quote. So let's go through where the field of psychology has gone through. Field of psychology before 1980, the traditional psychology was more into analysis, diagnosis, and treatment of mental disorders like depression and anxiety. So it was pretty much taking care of mental disorders. And at that time, it was thought that on a happiness scale, you can bring a person from -8 to -2. So again, on a scale of -8 to -2. But that traditional psychology before 1980 did not know how to make person happier, like taking a person on a scale of 2 to 8. So Schopenhauer and Sigmund Freud, said that maximum we can do is avoid misery. So before 1980, psychology knew well how to help the people who have mental illness. But psychology did not take much interest, did not know enough, did not have enough methods to take a person on a scale of 2 to 8 on the happiness. So again, at that time, positive psychology field was developed. And again, father of positive psychology is Dr. Martin Seligman, one of my favorite author. And he actually looked at the things which were right in our life, right in the life, and also were good in the life. So he was looking at what's working instead of what's not working. He essentially was taking the person on a happiness scale from 2 to 8, so making person more happier. Because traditional psychology before 80 brought the person from -8 to 0. But 0 essentially was an empty state. A person was at 0. Person wasn't at +10. So again, traditional psychology before 80, maximum it could do was bring the person to a scale of 0, from -10 to 10 scale, but could not take person from 2 to 8. And that's when the positive psychology had come in the picture. And that's where it decided that we'll take the people from scale 2 to 8. So how to use this seminar? This seminar is based on Lori Santo's course on Coursera. And she clearly says that there is a G.I. Joe fallacy where it says that knowing is not enough, but we need to practice. So as you watch this lecture, I highly recommend that, obviously listen to the lecture today and watch it on YouTube as you go, but start practicing all the methods in this lecture, because we need to change our habits and behavior. And I will also show you some of the tricks, some of the methods, how you can change your habits and behavior. But the key thing is not just listen to lecture, but also practice and also change your habits. So where do we stand with happiness? Where do you stand with happiness? Where do you stand with happiness? Again, happiness, there is no happiness meter like glucometer. For example, you can check your sugar, blood sugar, whether you have diabetes or not by glucometer. But there is nothing like a happiness meter. You cannot have a happiness measured by a machine. It's very subjective assessment. There are some general happiness score on 1 to 5, but more importantly, there are newer methods of assessing and measuring happiness. And one of them is a PERMA score, PERMA. So remember the acronym PERMA, PERMA. I want all of you to remember that. I will be expanding more as we go, but remember PERMA. There's another way of doing measuring happiness is by authentic happiness inventory. There is a flourishing index. We'll talk about it. Even the words we use can predict how happy you are. We will talk about that also. So again, PERMA, remember PERMA. So this concludes that current segment. Let's have some reflection. Have you ever heard about PERMA assessment? PERMA assessment. Hopefully some of you have heard about PERMA assessment. And now I ask you, I've explained you what well-being means. Do you feel that you have happiness or do you have well-being? And my last question to all of you is, how many actions are you willing to take to get happier? Are you ready to make some changes in your life? Are you ready to make some new habits? Are you ready to take some actions? So this concludes our current segment. Again, there are 20 segments. Watch the segments in a sequence on YouTube. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. Please invite your friends, like all our social platforms, and let's grow together. Again, I'm Dr. Aajay Shah. Today I'm giving this happiness workshop. This is segment number 5. If you're on YouTube, please watch segment 1 to 4 in sequence and then start segment 5. So this is again segment 5 on happiness workshop. So happiness workshops number 5 starts with a term called flourishing. So again, happiness is a journey, and we all need to be happier today than yesterday. So happiness is a journey, and that concept is called flourishing. Again, this term was pretty much described by Martin Seligman. And there are individual flourishing. We all need to flourish. That means we all need to be happier than yesterday. There's also community flourishing, nationwide flourishing, and a world flourishing. We all need community, nation, and world flourishing together. There was a flourishing index data done or research done in Europe. Denmark was the most flourishing country, Denmark. So let's go to one of the most important slides. This slide is very important during the whole seminar. So well-being again is more than happiness. So how can you assess well-being? Well-being can be assessed by PERMA assessment, P-E-R-M-A. PERMA stands for positive emotions or pleasure, mostly positive emotions, engagement, being in the flow, we'll talk about that, relationship, meaning or purpose, and achievements. Again, P-E-R-M-A. Now, PERMA can be increased with intentions, you're willing to do it, you're wanting to do it, with your actions, and with some coaching. So PERMA is not a transitory score. PERMA is not a fixed score. You can increase your PERMA. Again, remember the term PERMA, very important term or acronym PERMA. P for positive emotions, E for engagement, R for relationship, M for meaning, and A for achievement, PERMA. So why PERMA? Pleasure and positive emotions are not enough. For example, if you go out, walk in the nature, you can have a pleasure, you can have positive emotion. If you have a glass of wine, if you have an ice cream or cookie, it can give you pleasure. And also psychotic delusions can give you pleasure also. But you need all 4 of them. You need engagement, you need relationship, you need meaning and purpose, you need achievement. Pleasure alone is not enough. And that's how the PERMA was designed. So first question you will have is, how can I check my PERMA score? You can actually take a PERMA score on UPenn, University of Pennsylvania website, where you can go to Authentic Happiness, UPenn, and you can take a PERMA. You can actually also take Authentic Happiness Inventory on the same site. So again, very important, you take a PERMA test. So I took my PERMA test. My PERMA test came back on a positive emotion on a scale of 0 to 10. 1 to 10, I was 9.67, engagement was 9, relationship was 9, meaning was 9, and achievement was 9. My health score was also 9. I did not have that many negative emotions. And overall, my PERMA score was 9.13. Obviously, I was very happy when I took my test. Next topic is signature strength. This is also very important. Every person has a certain character signature strength. There are total 24 various signature strengths are proposed. Practicing signature strengths have shown to increase happiness, and it prevents depression and actually prevents many mental illness. So again, it's very important that we practice our signature strength. You can actually take the test at a VIA character strength test, VIA character strength test, and you can know what your character strengths are. So I took my character strength test actually, and this is my 24 character strength in the sequence where highest is love of learning, and this is very true. I absolutely love learning. The next is gratitude, then fairness, then hope, then forgiveness. So again, this almost gives my true assessment of my character strength. So again, this brings us to our next reflection for the segment. This ends our current segment. So how do you grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 for well-being on a PERMA? You have not taken the PERMA test yet. Obviously, some of you might have, but if you have not taken PERMA test, where do you grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 for well-being? Next stage is, can you recall what PERMA stands for? I just explained and described PERMA like 5 times. Can you remember PERMA? Again, PERMA stands for positive emotions, engagement, relationship, meaning, and achievements. My next question, important question to you is, when would you take PERMA test? Would you take it today? Would you take it this week? My next question to you is, when will you take your signature character strength test? Again, VIA signature character strength. You can go to their website and take your test. Again, this concludes our current segment. We will be finishing this segment. We have total 20 segments on this seminar. Please watch them in sequence. We are on YouTube, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. So please like all the social platforms. We post on every platform 3, 4 times, 5 times a day. On Facebook, we matter of fact post 6 times a day. Different things on healthy lifestyle, healthy living, mental health, spiritual health, relationship, success, many other things. We post every day. So again, please look us up, invite your friends and family to like our social platforms. And I can assure you that I take a great pride. I put a lot of hours, a lot of efforts, a lot of thinking in posting all on all of our social platforms. So please like on all of our platforms. Again, I'm Dr. Aajay Shah. This is our happiness workshop. This is segment number 6. If you're on YouTube, if you have not watched segment 1 to 5, please watch those segments in a row. So again, this is a next segment. Next segment starts with a great quote from one of our great presidents, Thomas Jefferson. It says that it's neither wealth nor splendor, but tranquility and occupation which gives us happiness. So again, it's neither wealth, not splendor, not the material thing, not the money, but the tranquility of mind and the occupation which gives us happiness. So that brings us, what do you think where the happiness depends upon? Where does the happiness depends upon? So happiness depends 50% on genetics. 50% it depends upon genetics. So it depends how our parents were, how our siblings are, how our twins are, if you have twins, where we share the genes. It only depends 10% on external circumstances. So again, it only depends 10% on external circumstances. Many times we think that, not having enough money, living in a small house, living in an apartment, having a life partner, having kids, having a great body, having a lot of other material wealth will make us happy. But actually, it's only about 10%. So that leaves the large chunk where happiness depends upon, and that's internal circumstances. Again, internal circumstances. And those means on our thoughts, on our actions, on our habits. So again, this is very important slide, important concept, that genetics 50%, external circumstances only 10%, and our internal circumstances a large chunk 40%. I also must say here that even though genetics are 50%, there is a new science, new concept now. It's called epigenetics. Epigenetics. That means with our behavior, we can actually modify genes. So in my opinion, even though genetics is 50%, you can turn many happiness gene on and turn off many unhappiness gene by your behavior. And that's called epigenetics. So again, internal circumstances and your behavior, your habits has a largest role in my opinion. because it can also influence your genes by epigenetics. So again, your habits will play a large role how happy you are. Is a great concept called American paradox. American paradox describes that in 1940, middle of World War II, happiness score was 7.5, 7.5. In 2015, the same way of scoring Americans, happiness score was 7.2. In 2015, we have more luxuries, we have better houses, we have running water, we have a hot shower, we have air conditioning in every house pretty much now. We have heat. Hunger is pretty much gone. We have better cars. We have smartphones now. We have internet now. We have YouTube now. We have Facebook now. But even though with all the material, all the luxuries we have, the happiness score has actually gone down. Actually, there is a more depression in 2015 than 1940. And this is a great American paradox that we supposed to be getting happier with all the material thing, but actually we are less happy than 1940. That brings to the next slide to one of my great author. I absolutely love him. His name is Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar. He's at Harvard, and he had one of the most popular course at Harvard on happiness, Tal Ben-Shahar. He has written many books. One of the books is called Happier. And this book, I've read it, I have it, a great book to buy, great book to read. And he brings people into four kinds of people. So there are four types of people. There's a rat racer. A rat racer is a person who works hard now with hope for the happiness in the future. And we can relate to many of those people who are like rat racer. I myself was a rat racer one day, 30 years ago, who thought that work hard now and I'll be happy in the future. So those are rat racers. The next type of people are hedonist people. Those people actually enjoy the life right now and not worry about the future happiness. So again, they enjoy. They eat like never tomorrow. They drink. They have all this pleasure now, but not worry about the future happiness. And there is a third group of people called nihilists, where they say, for them, there's no fun right now. There's no fun in the happiness. So again, there are these three types of people. But in my opinion, the fourth type, which is the true well-being, where there's a pleasure and happiness and well-being is right now, and they're also doing their actions and habits for the well-being and happiness in the future. So the true well-being is the right person to be in. Fortunately or unfortunately, we all have all these types in ourselves at different times in life. The goal here is to, in our life, avoid the rat racer stage, avoid the hedonic stage, avoid the nihilist stage, and spend as many years in our life in a well-being state as much as we can. So again, there are four types of people. This concludes our segment and brings up to our next reflection that that first question is, do you have good genes for happiness? Were your parents very happy? If you're a twin, is your twin very happy? Are your brother, sister very happy where you share the genes? So do you have good genes for happiness? But again, even if you don't have good genes for happiness, by epigenetics, with your behavior, you can actually modify your genes and you can turn on the happiness gene. So don't worry if you don't have good genes for happiness. The next question is, do you agree with American paradox where Americans are actually unhappier now compared to 7 years ago? Next question is, what type of person are you right now? Are you a rat racer? Are you a hedonist? Are you a nihilistic? Or are you a true happy person? This concludes our segment. Again, we are on YouTube, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook. Obviously, you're watching it right now. And we are also on Instagram. So please, please like us on all our platforms. Please share with your family and friends to be on our platform. We post every day 3 to 4 times, sometimes 5 times a day, all about healthy living, mental, physical, spiritual, and I assure you, you will not be disappointed. So please like us on all our platforms. Again, I'm Dr. Aajay Shah. This is our happiness workshop. This is segment number 7 out of 20 segments total. So this is segment number 7. If you have not watched first 6 segments on YouTube, please watch all first 6 segments in a row, and this will be the segment number 7. Segment number 7 starts with a great quote by Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand, obviously a great author, says that happiness is that state of consciousness which proceeds from achievements of one's value. So again, we will start with that quote. And there's a one theory of happiness that the narrower the gap, what you have become, and what is your maximum potential. So again, narrower the gap, what you have become, and what is your maximum potential. So if you can be at your maximum potential, you have a very high chance very high chance of becoming happy. So try to lower the gap between what you are right now and what your maximum potential is. So again, this is one possible theory of happiness. Ann Landers, obviously a pen name for Chicago Tribune newspaper, where Ann Landers says that the best things in life aren't the things. Again, the best things in life are not the things. And we'll expand on that as we go. Best things are not what are things in life. This again brings my great thank you note to Lori Santos from Yale University, and she has the course of Science of Well-Being on Coursera. I highly recommend all of you to watch that course. I watched that course 2-3 times. It takes about 14 hours to watch that course, and I have taken all the great points from that course and put in this lecture. So again, if you have time, 14 hours, go ahead and watch that course, but I'll cover most of the things from that course in this lecture. Thank you, Lori, again. Thank you, Lori. You are great. So what things we think will make us happy, but actually in reality, not. Reality, they don't make us happy. So it starts with good grades. When we are in middle school, high school, we think good grades will make us happy. But actually, predicted happiness, when we get higher grades, lasts only for a few days. So when we predict certain happiness, it doesn't happen as much happy once we get good grades. Having a good salary also does not necessarily predict happiness. People who make 30,000, they want 50,000. People who make 50,000 want 100,000. So one would think that people who are making 50,000 already would be happy, knowing that 30,000 people want 50,000, but 50,000 people want more. We also have many examples of many billionaires who are unhappy, many billionaires who have committed suicide, actually. So money does not necessarily bring happiness. Marriage, same thing applies. A lot of marriage ends in divorce. We'll talk about it. So marriage not necessarily brings happiness also. You have a very higher chance of being happy, but that not necessarily bring the happiness. Owning a big house also not necessarily bring the happiness. Owning a great car or even owning any other item not necessarily bring the happiness. Having a great physique not necessarily bring the happiness. We'll talk about that. And food obviously does not bring the happiness. So where do you find happiness in America? Where do you find happiness in America? Let's go through some quick slides. Hopefully you like it. This is my own personal creation. This is my own kind of a little fun thing to go through during our seminar. So for the people who are not able to view the slides on the screen, it starts with happiness in America. There's a great picture from Santa, from Coca-Cola, where it says, give a little happiness. The next picture is by McDonald's, where it says, happy family, happy me, where a young daughter is feeding a French fries to the father. The whole family look happy. So again, this is happiness in America. There's another happiness in America picture where it says, happiness in a box, happy meal at McDonald's. And the next picture you can see on the screen is where it says, not just unlimited pizza, but unlimited happiness. And obviously, next Coca-Cola again add happiness in a new bottle. People who you can see on the screen. I highly recommend you go on YouTube and watch this because you can see it on the screen. But if you are driving and if you're just listening to this lecture, I can describe the slides for you. Is the next slide where it says happiness in America, where build your own happiness, where there is a cheesy, looks like a beef burrito or some kind of chicken chimichanga, some kind of Mexican dish where it says build your own happiness. The next thing is a great slide. It says the Viagra, the original happy pill. So again, happiness comes in varieties of ways. The next slide for happiness in America is from Disney, where it says the theme park therapy, just like as if it's a psychotherapy, a theme park therapy, where Disney says that we create happiness. We create happiness. So again, happiness in America comes from a variety of things. Let's go through grades. We covered about the grades. Again, getting good grades may give you transient happiness, but not necessarily long-term happiness. If you predict that you're going to get a good grade, and if you don't get the same grade, you may become unhappy for a few days, but then that unhappiness goes away. Same way, if you get higher grades than what you predicted, it may make you happy for a few days, but then you come back down to happiness baseline. It brings to the next material thing, the income and material desires. So there was a freshman survey done 1965 and 2005. In 1967, actually, 1967, financial well-being was only about 42% important versus in 2005 when it's about 71% important. So again, now we value financial well-being a lot more than 67, but meaning to life was extremely high in 67, almost 86% versus only 52% now. So again, now in 2020, we value more of a material thing than actually meaning to life. But there's enough proof that life satisfaction and income correlation is very poor. People who make more money not necessarily are happier. And again, that brings us to what is the minimum income you need to be happy? And that magic number is $75,000. $75,000. So if you make $75,000 for a family of 4 in an average American city, like the city I live in, Okemos, Michigan, you should be happy. That's a max income you need to be happy. Obviously, if you live in New York or Los Angeles or some of the expensive cities, 75,000 may not be enough. But for an average city, 75,000 for a family of 4, all you need to be physically, mentally, materially happy. Actually, there was a survey done where people with high material desire, after 20 years, they had a higher chance of depression. So people who desire a lot of the material thing, many times in the future, they have very high chance of depression. Again, wanting and not eventually achieving also brings more unhappiness and depression. So again, less wanting, less desires probably is the way to go. That brings to one of the most important slides. I hope you can see it on the screen. This slide I have repeated twice in the whole talk because I love this slide. And I'll describe the slide for the people who are not able to see it on the screen. In the slide, this is probably from India, where there is a very poor street person who probably is homeless, lives on the street, a father, and his daughter. Daughter probably is about 2 or 3 years old. They both are looking at each other. They both are smiling. I can see the father smile, but I can more see daughter smile, the happiness on daughter's face, and the way the daughter is seeing her father as if he is the king of this world. And to be honest with you, I cannot duplicate this slide, even if I give anyone millions of dollars. When you see the daughter on this picture, and if I ask you whose daughter she is, you would think she's Bill Gates' daughter. She looks that happy on this picture. I hope you can see this picture on YouTube. I hope you are able to see this picture on Facebook Live right now. But this is, in my opinion, one of the most important picture. It says, well, who says you need money to be happy? Anybody can be happy. So again, that brings to the marriage. After 2 years of marriage, happiness comes to the baseline. There are 40% divorce rate in America. So again, marriage is not necessarily a guarantee to happiness. Obviously, if you have a great life partner like I have, you have a very high chance of becoming happy. People who are obese, and if they lose weight, they are not necessarily happier. People who also go through cosmetic surgery, matter of fact, they have higher chance of depression and suicide after the cosmetic surgery. So those things don't bring you necessarily happiness. That concludes our segment. That brings the next reflection for this segment. Do you recall any material thing which thought will make you happy after buying, but it did not? So again, it could be your house, could be your car. Um, One second. Could be your house, could be your car, anything which you thought will make you happy, but did not make you happy. My next question is, what is your personal assessment of the gap, what you are right now in terms of your success, in terms of your happiness versus what your maximum potential is? And my next important question, I'll keep reminding you, when would you take the PERMA test? When would you take the PERMA test? That again concludes our segment. There are 20 segments in this seminar workshop. Please watch them in a row. We will be on YouTube. We already are on YouTube. We are already on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Please like on all social media. Please invite your friends and family to like all our social media. We post every day, 4 or 5 times. On Facebook, we post 5 or 6 times a day, all tips about healthy living. So please like us on all social media. Thank you. Again, I'm Dr. Aajay Shah. This is our happiness workshop. This is segment number 8. There are total 20 segments. If you're on YouTube, please watch all 7 segments in a row to start this segment number 8. So why material things don't make us happy? Material things don't make us happy because our mind has intuitions about what makes us happy, but they're actually wrong. So our intuitions, our implicit thinking many times turns out to be wrong. We think sometimes implicitly, sometimes we think implicitly that buying a new car will make us happy, but it only does for a few weeks, and then we come down to the baseline happiness. So again, our intuitions are wrong. There's also a concept called miswanting. Miswanting, remember the word. Miswanting means we are wrong implicitly about what will make us happy, but actually implicitly we are wrong. Subconsciously we are wrong. So for example, subconsciously or implicitly, we think that buying a Mercedes Benz will make us happy, but actually our thinking implicitly is wrong, and that's called miswanting. My easy fix for miswanting is want what you already have. Want what you already have. To give you an example, I have a car which runs well. It takes me the place I want to go. It has a heating, it has air conditioner. What else I need? I don't need a bigger car. I don't need a more expensive car. I already have that car. So I have very low chance of miswanting in a car. So I have eliminated a miswanting when it comes down to the car. So I want all of you to eliminate miswanting as much as possible. Obviously, miswanting is many times implicit. That means it's subconscious, but try your best to eliminate miswanting as much as possible by wanting what you already have. That brings to the next great quote by Cicero, one of the great Roman philosopher. He says, I never admire another's fortune so much that I became dissatisfied with my own. Again, I never admired another's fortune so much that I became dissatisfied with my own. And that brings us to the next reason why material possessions don't make us happy in the long term. And that's partly because of a concept of comparison. Comparison. We don't think absolute, but we use a reference point to compare our possessions, our income, our look, and many other things. So again, we always compare ourselves. Give you an example. A person who lives in 2-bedroom house possibly can compare himself or herself to people who live in 4-bedroom house and be unhappy, not realizing that when he or she was in a 1-bedroom apartment and moved to the 2-bedroom house, got happy for a few days, few weeks, but now already comparing to the people who have bigger house. So again, we always have comparison. People who make 30,000 compare themselves and want to make 50,000. People who make $100,000, they want 250,000 because they compare themselves to people who make $250,000. So we compare everything essentially. When we are unemployed, but if our friends are unemployed, many times we don't get that unhappy. So again, even a unhappy situation, as long as other people are unhappy, we are not that unhappy. Again, the reason partly comparison has been happening more because of too much TV. And now that we have social media is now, in my opinion, 16 hours per day. Whenever we are awake, we have access to social media. So there is very high chance of constant comparison. When we see things on Facebook, we always start to compare where we are versus where other people are. So how can you fix comparison? In my opinion, we all should learn to do a downward comparison where we know people, when we compare people who are below us in terms of material things, in terms of happiness, in terms of many other things. So always have a downward comparison to maintain your own self-esteem, and at the same time have an upward comparison to stimulate yourself to do more things, to have more actions, and for ambition. So have comparison, which is a very healthy comparison, to have a downward comparison, and to have an upward comparison. Write down how you felt before your purchase or anything happened in your life. For example, when you were making $30,000, how you felt. Now you are making $50,000. So see, you know how you feel making more money compared to 30,000. Don't compare people who make more money. Just compare yourself where you were and where you are now. Other way of doing is this, living a previous lifestyle. So for example, if I have a car, I can live where I'm taking a bus or a train, and that will also make me less compare. There are ways of watching tragic movies or tragic news, because when you compare yourself to people who are going through much more misery and unhappiness in their life, you can actually start to feel that there are good things happening in your life, and you may have a better gratitude. We'll talk about that also. When you start comparing, you can use a simple method of just saying out loud, if you can say out loud, stop comparing. Just give your mind a forceful stop in comparing. Have a healthy reference point with your friends and your family, and definitely leave a previous lifestyle if you can. That brings us to conclusion of our current segment, and that brings a reflection. So can you name a recent event when you felt unhappy because you were comparing your situation? So again, when was the last time you went through a comparing situation where you compared your house to some other friend's house, or your income, or your car, or anything else? The next question is, what things did you buy because someone else bought it? And the next question on the reflection for this segment is, what things you thought would make you happy on the long run, but did not? What purchase, what material things, or what events, what you thought would make you happy, but it did not? That again concludes our current segment. Again, there are 20 segments. Watch them in a sequence. Uh, we are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram. So please like us on all social medias. Please invite your friends and family to like us on all our social media. We post every day. We post 3-4 times a day. They're all health related posts, mental health, physical health, spiritual health. So again, go ahead and like us on all the media. Thank you. Again, I'm Dr. Aajay Shah, and we are doing today this happiness workshop. This is segment number 9. If you are on YouTube, please watch segment 1 to 8 in sequence. They all go in sequence. Obviously, you can watch any segment anytime, but if you can, watch those segments in a row on YouTube. Thank you. Again, my big thank you to Lori Santos from Yale for giving me great material for this seminar. And she has a course, Science of Well-Being, on Coursera. I highly recommend to watch that course. So that brings us to what are the other reasons why material possessions don't make us happy? And the concept of hedonic adaptation comes to my mind. Hedonic adaptation. So what is hedonic adaptation? Hedonic adaptation is a concept when our mind gets used to with what we already have. Again, our mind gets used to with what already we have. And that applies to both positive and negative things, positive and negative experiences. So what our mind gets used to. The key thing to remember is that this hedonic adaptation many times is very implicit. It's very subconscious. It happens even without our knowledge. So this hedonic adaptation, that means getting used to with what we already have, is actually very, very subconscious. To give you an example, when we buy a car, in few weeks, few months, we even forget that we have a nice new car, and we move on with some next thing to buy. So when we buy a house, when we get married, even matter of fact, when you hear a word, I love you, first time from a romantic partner, versus hearing the same love you words after 6 months, after 2 years, after 5 years, same two words, love you, doesn't have a same kind of happiness creating moments compared to when you heard it first time. Same thing applies to when you hear a dad or a mom, first time from your first child or second child, first child typically, the happiness you got from hearing a word dad, like when I heard a word dad from a niece, the happiness you get has a different meaning. So this is hedonic adaptation. But I must say, I got the same feeling, same happiness when Saroni called me first time dad. So again, Saroni and Amish both. So again, good thing is that positive and negative uh, experiences, we get the same hedonic adaptation. That's a good thing, because if you're getting hedonic adaptation only with positive thing, that would be bad for us. But fortunately, our mind, our brain is strong enough that even with negative experiences, we can get used to with it. We can forget about them, and we also have hedonic adaptation to negative experiences. So how can we thwart, or how can we let go? How can we stop this hedonic adaptation happening? So hedonic adaptation, again, is getting used to with what we already have. You can start with savoring. Savoring is an act where you can step out of an experience, review, and appreciate the experience. So savoring, we all know the word savoring, like we savor the food. So again, we need to savor the experience, what we are going through, or event, what's happening in our life, or the material thing we bought. Savoring. How can you savor? You can savor by intensifying and lengthening the experience, by sharing with somebody. For example, if you are having a nice, healthy meal, if you share with somebody, you'll have a higher chance of not getting hedonic adaptation. Talking to someone about your experience or event you bought, appreciating what you have, and how lucky you are to get that thing, being very mindful. Whenever you go through any experience or when you buy anything, being very mindful. Matter of fact, if you jump up and down with that experience, then you will also have a less chance of hedonic adaptation. Also feeling how proud you are to achieve that success, either owning a car, owning a house, or having a great relationship, feeling proud also gives you less hedonic adaptation. You can also take a picture of things you bought or an experience you're going through. You can also buy a souvenir. So again, those are the way you can thwart hedonic adaptation. The goal here is to not go through hedonic adaptation. That means keep our experience, keep our material thing we bought fresh, and keep giving us the same happiness. Very hard thing to do, but we can all learn how to thwart the hedonic adaptation. So what things you can do, what things actually you can not do to not have the hedonic adaptation. And that one of the important things is focus on the future. So again, when you're having any good experience, for example, if you are eating one bite of cookie, and if you are thinking of, I'm going to have something else next week, like a pizza or something, then you're not enjoying the small bite of cookie. So again, enjoy what you are having, be mindful. If you think that this experience will be over very soon, then you can also will have high hedonic adaptation. If you compare every experience you have, every material thing you buy that is not as good as other. For example, if you buy a simple car, but if you compare again one more time that you don't have the car, which is Mercedes or BMW, you'll have hedonic adaptation very quickly. And if you think that how can I have better experience, better car, you will have hedonic adaptation. And if you feel that you don't deserve this experience or this material purchase, then you will also have hedonic adaptation. So again, goal here is to thwart or not have the hedonic adaptation. Uh, Mark Twain clearly said, to get the full value of joy, you must have somebody to divide with. So to not have hedonic adaptation, always share whatever material thing you purchase, whatever experience you have. There's a better way of thwarting or better way of preventing the hedonic adaptation, and that method is actually investing more into experience than buying material thing. So again, if you invest more into experience instead of buying a new expensive car, if you take a vacation, if you go to a dinner with friends, if you go visit a park, anything which gives you experience, then you will have a less chance of hedonic adaptation. uh, Actually, matter of fact, planning for an experience also gives us more positive emotions and more chance of happiness. So again, experience is a better way to go than buying or owning a material thing. And matter of fact, if you can find an experience which can be free or very low cost, you will have very low chance of hedonic adaptation. Like going to a park, obviously no cost, or going to a library, no cost, going to a bookshop, or going out for dinner with friends. Those things will give you longer and longer lasting happiness than any owning material thing. There's another way of preventing hedonic adaptation, and that's by negative visualization. Negative visualization uh, concept has been 2,500-year-old concept. Matter of fact, it was described in Stoic philosophy. I'll explain you that also as we go in the seminar. In negative visualization, you essentially visualize or you imagine how your life would be without that event, or without that item. To give you an example, if I own a simple car, if I visualize that how my life would be without that car, that I would be walking to the work, or I would be taking a train or a bus, then I will appreciate the value of the car. I will have a more happiness from owning the same car. I don't have to get a better car. I don't have to get a helicopter or a jet or a plane to be happier. From the same car, if I visualize how my life would be without the same car, I will have higher chance of happiness. So again, negative visualization is a very important concept. We all should be doing negative visualization on a regular basis. There's another way of thwarting hedonic adaptation, and that's thinking that today is your last day. If you think that today is my last day to enjoy this house because the house is already sold, I'll be moving out, you will enjoy the house. So think that today is your last day. You can also extend this thing by saying that this is your last week. For example, at work, if you think that this is your last week, you'll have a higher chance of enjoying your coworkers, even being more productive, getting the work on time. So essentially thinking that this is your last day or your last week. Next way you can thwart the hedonic adaptation is by interrupting your consumption. Whatever you are consuming, whatever you are experiencing, interrupt that feeling. So for example, for me, if I take a bus to my work instead of going by a car, I will know what happiness the car provides me. So essentially interrupting your ongoing consumption. And then creating a voluntary hardship also. For example, if I had to take a bus or train to my work and create a hardship, then I will have more happiness from owning my car. So again, you can have hedonic adaptation less happening if you go to create a voluntary hardship. Also by increasing your variety. For example, if you are having fun eating fruits, then instead of getting used to with eating apple every day, have all different type of fruits, and that will also prevent hedonic adaptation. I have two of my own ideas, two of my own tricks. The one of them is that assign a number to this material purchase you have or an experience you have for that sake. Assign a number and put in your phone that number. To give you an example, if you buy a nice car, assign a number that it gave me a happiness on a 0 to 100, let's say 70. Put that number in your phone, 70, and refer to that number on a weekly basis. So as the time goes, every week, every month, every year, if you keep the same car, if you can recall from your phone that gave you 70 happiness on a scale of 0 to 100, it will keep reminding you that that happiness still should be 70 because it's still the same car. So again, assigning a number to that experience or the purchase. The next way you can thwart the hedonic adaptation, again, this is my own method, is by attaching happy memories to a material purchase. To give you an example, we live in a current house, and whenever I go to Saloni, our daughter's bedroom, or Amish, our son's bedroom, I have a lot of memories attached to those rooms. So even though this house, we are in it for 14 years, the memory and the happiness from this house is constant because I have attached memories to this house, a lot of great memories to this house. And so this house keeps giving me joy, and I don't need to go to a bigger house or a better house. This house gives me great happiness and great joy on an ongoing basis because I have created many memories in this house. So attach memories to a material purchase. For example, if you have a car, attach taking car on a vacation with your family. So that way, whenever you drive the same car, you will have those memories. So again, attaching to the material purchase. There's another way of thwarting or preventing hedonic adaptation, and is that by keeping a gratitude journal. Keeping a gratitude journal. I have a great video on how to keep a journal. So again, we all should be creating a gratitude journal. We should create a master list of all our gratitudes. For example, I have my master list. My master list includes having a great spouse, great kids, living parents, living in America, being a cardiologist, great job, great income, great house, great car. So I have my own master list. I look at my master list at least a few times a week, and then I know that how fortunate, how lucky, how happy I should be. I also add to that list as good things happen, typically in a daily, weekly base. It takes about 3 minutes to make a master list. I essentially advise all of you to create your own gratitude master list today and look at that list at least a few times a week. If you have a gratitude list, if you show gratitude, you definitely will be happier. You will have a less chance of depression. You can also extend this by creating a gratitude visit where you go and see somebody and give them your thank you, give them your gratitude. You can send a gratitude email. You can send a gratitude text even immediately after this lecture is over. Reach out to a friend by text or by a phone call and say thank you. Again, in marriage, thank you and appreciation, you have a less chance of divorce. So all relationship, gratitude works. At the work also, if you show gratitude to co-workers, there's also higher chance of work-related happiness and work-related success. So again, gratitude is very important. This brings to our reflection for the current segment. This reflection, the first question is, which product or a thing which made you happy for a short time, but not in the long run? Again, this concept goes into hedonic adaptation. Next question is, do you enjoy more experiences or buying material things? For example, did you enjoy the vacation or did you enjoy buying a new car? I'm talking long term. Like, do you have happy memories of a vacation or happy memories of buying a new car? My next question is, have you ever done negative visualization? If you remember the term negative visualization, have you ever done negative visualization? Again, this concludes our current segment. We will move on to the next segment. Again, we are on YouTube, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. Please reach out to all our social media. Please invite your friends and family to our social media, definitely to our Facebook. We regularly post on all 4 social medias. We definitely try our best to teach and educate as many people as possible for a healthy lifestyle. So go ahead and like us on our social media. Thank you. This is Dr. Aajay Shah, and we are doing this happiness interactive workshop. We are on segment 10, about halfway through. Segment 10. If you're on YouTube, if you have not watched segment 1 to 10, please go and watch segment 1 to 10 in a row and start segment segment 10 now. What segment 1 to 9? Segment 1 to 9. This is segment 10. One of the reason many times we have a less chance of being happy because we predict that wrong experiences or wrong things, wrong negative events will make us unhappy more often and longer. Again, this is an impact bias. For example, when a loved one dies in our family, we think that this is a doom scenario. All our life will be unhappy. But we all have experienced that even losing the closest person in our life, most loved one person in our life, our life moves on in few days, few weeks, few months, few years. All the happy memory stays, but at the same time, unhappiness itself starts to dissolve. So again, we have impact bias. We predict that any event happens will make us unhappy, but in reality, that's not the case. We also have a negativity bias. This negativity bias concept is an important thing to remember. This concept is millions of years old. To give you an example, when a human was in savannah jungle, when a tiger or lion was behind that jungle, behind those bushes or the grass, and if the person did not pay attention to the lion or tiger, did not run, he would have died. So whenever he goes through those bushes, he always has a recall that could be a lion or tiger behind those bushes. So it's very cautious. So he has this negativity bias of seeing any bushes that could be a lion or tiger. So again, this is the carrot and stick principle. Whenever we get a carrot, we always sometimes have a less chance of paying attention to it, but we always have a more chance of paying attention to stick. So again, so this is a negativity bias where we always remember both implicitly and explicitly, more of it implicitly about negative experiences. So again, subconsciously, we always remember our negative experiences. And this is a great slide for the people who can see on the screen the negativity bias. For example, I can describe this slide that a person walking on a street sees another person walking a dog, and a person who's walking, first thing, his mind thinks that this dog can bite him because maybe possibly either he had a bite from a dog in the past, or whatever the reason, maybe he has read about dog bites, maybe he's scared about dog bites. So first thing he thinks of is this very pleasant puppy or pleasant dog, that this dog can bite him. So again, this is a negativity bias. So we always think of negative thing in our life from the past or from the reading about it, about implicitly, subconsciously. Like many of us have fear of spider. I've never myself personally gone through spider bite, but I have extreme high fear of spider, or for example, snake. And we all have those negativity bias. Even if we see a rope sitting on a dark street, we sometimes think it's a snake because we have an implicit negativity bias of think anything which looks like a rope. So again, this is negativity bias. What else is make unhappy? There's a concept called focalism. Focalism, where we focus 100% on negative event, and then we forget what else is good thing in happening. For example, if we lose a job, there are other 10 things happening in our life, including a great wife, great kids, great house, great car, great financial stability. But when we lose the job, we think that doom is happening. We are never going to come out of this doom. We're going to be so unhappy for the rest of our life. But we forget that there are other 10 things which are good in our life. There's only one thing which is not the good thing. So one negative experience we think is the end of our happiness. So again, that's called focalism. And we need to prevent the focalism by keeping a list of what good things happening in our life. And I'll explain you how to keep a journal. I've recorded a great video on journaling. Matter of fact, it's on YouTube already. Reach out to our YouTube channel, Healthy Living with Dr. Aajay Shah, and read that, watch that video on journaling. That video clearly shows you how you can avoid focalism, how you can look at the list of the things which makes you happy. So that way, one unhappy thing which will not make you focal on just one negative experience. That brings to this great philosopher from England, Bertrand Russell, and he clearly, very wise man. His grandfather was obviously the Prime Minister of England, and he clearly says that there are multiple reasons for people to be unhappy, And the most important is meaninglessness. We'll cover that in detail as we go. Second thing, people are very competitive. Competition is good, but in my opinion, it should be healthy combination. It should be very low stress. I call eustress competition. But if you are too competitive, there's a more chance of unhappy. People who are bored are unhappy. People who physically and mentally get tired, people who don't take enough rest are unhappy. People who have envy are unhappy. People who have a lot of guilt and shame are unhappy. People who are very self-absorbed and people who have a big ego are unhappy. People who also have fear of public opinion, people who think too much what other people are thinking about them are also unhappy. So again, these are the great reasons from Bertrand Russell. I highly recommend. He has a great book on happiness. Many years old, a great book on happiness. Again, that brings to the conclusion of our current segment, and let's reflect on it. What top 3 negative life events do you remember? So what top 3 negative life events do you remember? Again, right now, as soon as you are done with this lecture, get your phone out and write down the 5 things you are thankful of. So I want you to start a gratitude journal starting today. And best way to write gratitude journal is in your phone. Obviously, you can do it on a paper and pen also, but phone is always with you, so that way you can read your gratitude list anytime, wherever you are. So as soon as this seminar is over, as soon as this lecture is over, please get your phone out and write down the 5 things you are thankful for. This concludes our current segment. Again, we are on YouTube, so you can watch all the segments. You can watch it again and again. We are on Twitter. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. Please like all our social media. Invite your friends and family. We post on a daily basis. For example, we post on Facebook 5 to 6 times a day about healthy living tips, both for physical health, mental health, and spiritual health. And I can assure you that I take a lot of efforts. I spend a lot of time. I have a great support from my wife, from kids, a great support from Hannah, our social media person. And I try to maintain very high quality on all of our social media. So please go ahead and like all social media, invite your friends and family. Thank you. Again, I'm Dr. Aajay Shah. This is our happiness interactive workshop. This is segment number 11 out of 20. If you are on YouTube, please watch segment 1 to 10, segment 1 to 10 in a row, segment 1 to 10 in a row. This is segment 11 out of 20. It starts with a great quote by Aristotle, my favorite philosopher, my favorite Greek philosopher, that different men seek happiness in different ways by different means. So again, we all get happy by different ways and different means. Also, next, a major quote from Benjamin Franklin. Happiness consists more in small pleasures that occur every day than in a great pieces of good fortune that happens but seldom. So again, every day, small things we should be enjoying, we should be getting happy about. That brings another great quote from C.P. Snow, an English novelist. He said that if you pursue happiness, you will never find it. Just like Viktor Frankl said that if you go after happiness, you will never find it. So again, to be happy, you have to do certain actions. You cannot just say that I'm going to be happy. You have to do certain things and happiness will come to you. That brings another great quote from David Thomas, a singer, says happiness is taking action. So we have to take action to be happy. So let's see what actions you can take starting today to be happy. Number 1 is exercise. Physical activity or exercise is very important to be happy. Minimum 30 minutes, 3 times a week. You can actually, in my opinion, should exercise every day. There was a research done, there was a study done, but 30 minutes of exercise 3 times a week was better than matter of fact taking Zola. So again, 30 minutes of exercise 3 times a week was better than taking Zola, better than Zola. And it actually prevented recurrence of depression better than Zola. So exercise not only makes you happy, but it also treats the depression and prevents the depression. I recommend 1 hour of brisk walking or jogging. And if you can run at least 5 times a week, 5 to 6 times a week. You can also add weight training, yoga, and stretches, and Tai Chi. Exercise definitely makes us happy. It brings us better mood. It has a less chance of depression, better sleep. Physically, it makes us healthy. it makes us more creative. Matter of fact, it even makes a better grade. So I tell our daughter Saloni all the time that as a student, she should be exercising at least 5 times a week, preferably every day. If you exercise, make sure you track it. You can track it exercise by Fitbit type device or by Apple Watch, because it's very important you know how much exercise you're doing on a daily basis. I track my exercise every day with Fitbit device for last 3 years, and I know I'm getting enough steps. Next thing in life to be happy, very important thing is getting adequate sleep. So we all need minimum 7 hours of sleep, 7 to 8 hours sleep. Matter of fact, 30% of Americans don't get 7 hours. 30% of Americans don't get 7 hours. We have a separate video on sleep on YouTube. So please watch that video on YouTube. It essentially describes all the consequences of poor sleep, including obesity, diabetes, cancer, even longevity in terms of how long you live. All those there are consequences around that video. Please watch that video. How to improve sleep, including exposing yourself to sunlight, exercising, not having too much coffee, avoiding blue light on your phone, on your iPad, on your TV. So again, that same video on YouTube, on our channel on sleep, watch that video, how to improve sleep. And definitely track your sleep. You can track your sleep by Fitbit type device, and you know how much deep sleep you are getting, how much REM sleep you are getting, how much light sleep you are getting. So again, very important to track your sleep. Next thing which makes us happy, which will make us happy, is meditation. Again, meditation has been proven definitely to improve your happiness score. It also improves your gray matter, it improves your sleep, it improves your creativity. There's a less chance of depression, anxiety, and meditation actually makes you live long. It makes you have more material success. So meditation is very important. Minimum 20 minutes twice a day, or at least once a day, is a good start for you. There are different types of meditation. You can even do a walking meditation, which I do myself. You can do a sitting meditation. There's a meditation called loving kindness meditation, where you actually close your eyes and wish well health and well-being to your loved one, and that's called loving kindness meditation. You can do a mantra meditation where you recite a word in your mind or recite out loud like a chanting, and that's also other type of meditation. You can also do meditation by just simply observing your breath, where you, with your closed eye or open eyes, you essentially see how the air is moving through your nostril in a slow fashion, very slow breath. So you can again do this meditation. We also have done a video on how you can increase your vagal tone, how you can increase your parasympathetic stimulation on a YouTube. That video is already on YouTube. Watch that video. People who have a higher vagal tone, people who have higher parasympathetic stimulation, parasympathetic, again, have higher chance of happiness, longevity, and many physical health. So improve your parasympathetic tone also. The next thing which has a higher chance of making us happy is being very mindful, being very mindful. Mindfulness has been around for thousands of years. So that concept in Western world is a new thing, but I think in my opinion, we all need to be mindful. That means no mind wandering, no multitasking. For a time being in 80s and 90s, multitasking was a big word. It was big promoted that you should be multitasking, but we have realized that multitasking actually has backfired. Multitasking has backfired. When you multitask, that means you are not doing any task with all the due diligence, with all the details. So multitasking is no. The current going is no multitasking. Actually, some mindfulness, like pleasant mind wandering, is sometimes has some benefits, but in my opinion, be mindful as much as possible. There's also some breathing exercise called pranayam. Again, we have a separate video on YouTube also, I think on Facebook also, if you scroll down. And doing some breathing exercise or pranayam, 15 minutes once or twice a day also gives you higher sense of happiness. So that concludes our current segment. Let's reflect on this segment. How much exercise you do. When you exercise, how does it make you feel good? Do you meditate? Are you planning to start meditation? And my last question for this segment is, how is your sleep and do you track it? So again, this concludes our current segment. There are 20 segments. Please watch them in sequence on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are obviously on YouTube also, and we are on Instagram. Please like all our social media. Invite your friends and family on the social media. We post every day. For example, on Facebook, we post 4 to 5, 6 times a day. They're all healthy tips on healthy lifestyle. So like us on all social media. Thank you. Hope you're enjoying so far. Again, this is Dr. Aajay Shah. This is a happiness interactive workshop. This is segment number 12. If you're on YouTube, please watch all segments in a row, segment 1 to 11. This is segment number 12. It starts with what things which can make us happy. Again, we are going through the different things which can make us happy. One important thing which I do on a regular basis is replaying happy memories 5 minutes per day. So essentially, you can sit in the evening whenever you have time and replay happy memories, either from your childhood or from any time in life. Replay those memories, and essentially creating a positive visualization, positive, like replaying those memories. To me, that gives me a great joy, great happiness. The next thing you can do is you can analyze your negative experiences, but not ruminate, not replay. So definitely don't replay your negative experiences, not ruminate, because that will make you unhappy. But whenever you have any negative experience, spend a few minutes analyzing so that those experiences, those events, you can avoid, you can prevent happening again in your life. So again, positive, happy memories, replay them, and negative memories, negative experiences, analyze them, but don't replay them. The next concept to be happy is called time affluence versus material affluence. Big concept, time affluence versus material affluence. We all get 24 hours in a day. White, black, poor, rich, Indian, American, Asian, Chinese, we all get 24 hours in a day. So time is a fixed commodity. Time can never be re-earned. If we lose money, if our house burns down, we can always earn the money again. We can always build a new house, but time can never come back. So time is the biggest equalizer. So have a time affluence, have more time in your life. People who have more time in life are actually happier. How can you do that? Delegate as much as possible. Use technology to save time, and obviously own less material thing, because eventually you become slave to your material thing. Owning a big house, essentially you're becoming a slave to your big house. And there's enough proof that homeowners of big house are less happy than renters of 2-bedroom apartment. So again, have time affluence, not the material affluence. Obviously you need balance, you need some time, you need some material, but if I have a choice, I'd rather have time affluence more than a material affluence. And like my favorite way of saying is that don't be a janitor to your own possessions. Don't be a janitor to your own possessions. That brings to a good work-life balance. So obviously have enough time to your work, enough time to your life, to your family, to your spouse, to your friends, to your loved ones. So again, happy work-life balance. That brings to me a great author, Timothy Ferris. I read his book called The 4-Hour Work Week, and he is a big proponent of time affluence. I think obviously he goes to an extreme of time affluence where he says that you can work 4 hours in a week and still be happy, still be rich. 4-hour work week. Obviously, we cannot go that extreme. Most of us cannot go that extreme, but I highly recommend that book. That book has many tips on how you can become time affluent. Again, the 4-hour work week by Timothy Ferris. That brings again to the same slide which I've shown you before, but I'm going to describe the slide again. The slide shows, many of you can see it on the screen, on YouTube, on Facebook, but that slide shows that there's a father, probably in India, probably a homeless person on the street, sitting with his daughter, who is 2 or 3 years old. I can see the smile, the joy on father's face looking at his daughter. But more importantly, his daughter, who's probably only 2 or 3 years old, I can see the smile, I can see the joy on the daughter's face, which makes me feel the daughter thinks her father is the king of this world. And like I said earlier in my lecture, if I had to guess, just looking at the face of this young girl, just 2 or 3 years old, whose daughter she is, my guess would be she's Bill Gates' daughter. She's that happy looking at her father. So again, we don't need material thing to be happy. That brings the next important concept where Jane Porter, an author, says happiness is not perfected until it is shared. Happiness is not perfected until it is shared. That brings the R in PERMA, R. Again, if you remember PERMA, PERMA stands for P for positive emotions, E for engagement, R for relationship, M for meaning or purpose, and A for achievement. So now we are going R in PERMA. And you can see a great picture of a couple together, relationship. Next thing, again, R in PERMA, you can see a great picture where there are two young friends, two young girls with, putting their hands together, saying together. So again, relationship is very important, social connections. And in my opinion, in relationship, give and take concept is most important concept. Because if you give time, if you give resources, if you give love, if you give compassion, if you give care, you have high chance of receiving them. So again, it's a give and take. You cannot take, and not give. You have to give all those things to receive. So in relationship, give and take is very important. That brings me to an interesting way of saying that conversations in your relationship is very important. How you talk to each other. How you talk to each other is very important. How you talk to each other is very important. To give you an example, if your spouse comes home very excited and says that, honey, I got the promotion. How you talk to your life partner is very important. You can talk to your life partner in 4 different ways. You can start with a passive destructive way. So your spouse come home and say, honey, I got promotion, big promotion. Passive destructive way of saying, what's for dinner? Essentially, you're not even paying attention to what she's saying. That's passive destructive. Active destructive way of saying when your spouse comes home and says, honey, I got promotion. Active destructive would be, oh, that means it's going to put us in a higher tax bracket. Essentially, you not only shut her down, but you actually criticize for what she achieved as a higher promotion. That's active destructive. And the next thing is passive constructive. When your spouse comes home and says, honey, I got promotion, you're saying, good job. That's a passive constructive. Just 2 words, good job. Versus active constructive, which is the most important one. We all should be doing active constructive. So if your spouse comes home, says, honey, I got promotion, how can you be active constructive? You can say, good job, tell me what happened, tell me who was in competition, tell me how your boss reacted and how your boss described your promotion. Tell me what were you thinking when you got promotion. Tell me what actions you took to get this promotion. Tell me what is your next goal in life. Tell me what else is going to make you happy. Tell me what this promotion means to you. So again, you are not just saying good job, but you are expanding on the joy. You are reliving the moment with your spouse, whether she got the promotion. So again, in any relationship, your conversations are very important. Have an active, constructive conversation with your spouse, with your kids, with your parents, with your brother, with your sister, with your friends. Active, constructive conversation. Every word we use is very important in relationship. Again, that brings to a great quote from Albert Schweitzer, a Nobel Peace Prize winner. The life becomes harder for us when we live for others, but it becomes richer and happier. So again, life becomes harder slightly, but actually it's richer and happier. So that brings to our reflection for the current segment. This segment ends now. So what are the 3 negative life events do you remember? Again, this is a repeat question. I want you to remember 3 negative life events so you know that you overcame them. You pretty much have forgotten about them. Again, that bring the gratitude journal out again. I want all of you, as soon as this seminar is over, have the gratitude. Who are your top 5 friends? When was the last time you had a great social interaction? How happy you felt after that? And my last question for this segment to you is, do you have a good work-life balance? Are you time affluent? Do you have enough balance of time affluence and material affluence? I'd rather be a time affluent. Again, that concludes our current segment. There are 20 segments. Please watch them in sequence. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Please like us on all social media. Please invite your friends and family. Like I said, we post on Facebook 5-6 times a day. We post on every social media every day. So please reach out to all our social media, invite your friends and family, and let's grow together. Thank you. Again, I'm Dr. Aajay Shah. This is our Happiness Interactive Workshop. This is segment number 13 out of 20. If you're on YouTube, please watch segment 1 to 12 in sequence, and then let's start segment number 13. Again, this brings what makes us happy. We've been discussing different things which makes us happy. We have gone through exercise, meditation, pranayam, social relations, and this continues on social relations and communication. So again, have top friends. So what are your top close friends or real friends? These friends are the one where you can call them or visit them anytime. You can share anything with them, including what positive things going in your life, what negative things going in your life. You can learn from each other. You can motivate each other. You can meet them 3-4 times a week, sometimes even meet on an everyday basis. Like I remember when I was growing up in India, some friends I saw every day. This type of top 5 friends provides you longevity, provides you better health, actually provides you better survival after illness, after heart attack, after cancer, and has a less chance of depression. Actually, it's proven also that even when you just talk to a stranger, there are a higher chance of happiness. So I strongly advise all of you to talk at work, even talk at the coffee shop. If you're traveling by train or a bus, talk to a stranger. And we all have experience that when you eat the same food together with family, with friends, the same food gives you more joy and more happiness. So how can you have a better experience with your relationship? In person is the best way. If you can meet your family member or your friends in person, either at home or outside, wherever you park or a restaurant, in person is the best way to do it. The next best way to do is a video talk or a FaceTime, where you can see each other expressions, their smile, their eyes. Next is a video talk. The next one is just talking on the phone, which we always have done for the last, 50 years. Next is texting them. Texting has become very popular in young people. I text myself every day. I prefer text actually. And then emailing. So again, it's very important that you stay in contact with various forms, but in person is the best way. There's actually a research study done where people who are lonely versus people who are making good money. Money versus being lonely. Being lonely provided more unhappiness than making money. So again, loneliness provides you more unhappiness than even having money. And even for the people who are socially introvert, social connections are very important. Again, that brings my big thank you to Lori Santos from Yale for giving me the material for this seminar, and her course, Science of Wellbeing on Coursera, a great course. I strongly advise all of you to view it. I've taken all the material from that course, and it's about 14 hours long on Coursera. I've turned that into a short course, and I added my own things also. Matter of fact, I've added half of the material in my seminar is my own from reading books, and half came from her course. But again, big thank you to Lori. Next important concept of becoming happy is activating your signature strength. So again, we all have to activate our signature strength. If you remember from my earlier explanation, what are the signature strength? We all have 24 signature strength, 24 are proposed, and we should be activating 5 per day. I will go through those signature strength in a second, but we should be activating 5 per day. For example, for me, love of learning, gratitude, fairness, hope, and forgiveness are the top 5 signature strength. I try to use 5 of them every day. I learn something new every day. I read about 200 pages every day. When you employ signature strength, you have a less chance of depression, you have a very high chance of becoming happy. It also increases your productivity, it also gives you job satisfaction. And actually, your job or your task becomes your calling when you use your signature strength. And you get more into the flow state. We'll talk about what the flow state means in a second. So again, these are my signature strength. Love of learning is my number one. I use love of learning signature strength every day. That brings the next way of becoming happy. Learn social skills. We all need to be more social. Most of us at times are socially withdrawn with this internet, with this smartphones, with the living further distance and distance away. We all need to be more social. Also learn how to tell a good story. When you are sitting in a group, when you're sitting with friends, you should know how to tell a good story. Either it's a story about your life, a story about anything you experienced, or anything you have read. Learn how to tell a good story. And obviously have a good character. People with good character typically are happier. That again brings back to this great psychologist from Harvard, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar. Many books he has written. The book which I read is called Happier. Actually, I read 2 of his books. One is a Happier. One is called Perfectionism. So Happier is the book where he described this upward spiral concept. Upward spiral concept. Like how can you get into an upward spiral? Upward spiral of happiness. So I'll give you an example. If you smile to a stranger at a coffee shop or at a work and start a conversation, that may lead to a new friendship, may lead to a new experiences together, and you just start an upward spiral. Just a smile can start an upward spiral. If you go on a vacation with a new friend, that can start an upward spiral, because vacation with a new friend can have a lot of experiences, a lot of conversation, and that can build into many more vacations in the future, many more experiences together. So again, vacation with a new friend can start an upward spiral. You can call a childhood friend you have not talked for years, and you can start an upward spiral. Again, talking to a friend you have not talked for 25, 30 years can start a new conversation, catch up on everything you missed out for the last 25 years. For example, I talked to one of my close friends from medical school. His name is Hemant Panchal. We did not talk to each other for 25 years, 30 years almost. And I talked to him just 4 years ago on the phone. And now we are together a few times a year. We have taken multiple vacations. And that has started an upward spiral for me. And that has brought more joy, more happiness in my life. So again, start an upward spiral. That brings to a great philosopher, great Stoic philosopher. We'll talk about that in a second. Seneca learned how to feel joy. And that brings to our next slide, next segment. It says that read and learn various philosophies. Again, philosophies are written to teach us. The main goal, main aim of most philosophies is to be happy. The ultimate currency, like I started my talk, ultimate currency, ultimate why, where the why question ends, and that's happiness. So again, all philosophies in general, whether it's Greek philosophy, Roman philosophy, Stoic philosophy, Christian philosophy, Hindu, Islamic philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, all those philosophies, the ultimate aim is to make a person happy. So I highly recommend Stoicism. I have a video on Stoicism about an hour long on our YouTube channel. Please watch that video. In my opinion, best way to live a good life is to follow Stoic principles. So what are the Stoic principles? Stoic philosophy is an ancient philosophy, almost about 20 2,400-year-old, started by Zeno. Like I said, we have a great YouTube video on Stoicism. Watch that video. And essentially, the key concept in Stoic philosophy is to knowing which things are under our control and not under our control. If you know just one principle of Stoic philosophy, you will have very high chance of happiness. Again, knowing things are under our control, which is typically our thinking, our actions, our habits, our judgments. And things which are not under our control, for example, our house, our car, our job, our money, those things are not under our control. Also, thinking in a larger perspective is very important. Anger management also has been described in ancient philosophy, Stoicism, very well. People who are angry typically are not very happy. And then living by different virtues, there are four important virtues: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. So again, living by those virtues gives you higher chance of happiness. Many psychological counseling methods actually are derived from Stoicism, like logotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. All those things, matter of fact, came from Stoic philosophy. And to me, Stoicism or Stoic philosophy has a great tools to be happy. I highly recommend all of you to read, watch videos on YouTube about Stoic philosophy, watch my video on Stoic philosophy, and see what you think of this Stoic philosophy. Is a great book suggestion to all of you. It's called Handbook of New Stoics, a Handbook of New Stoics, how to thrive in a world out of control, 52 week by week lessons, 52 week by week lessons. It's by Massimo Pigliucci, a great book. I follow that book, and I have a great talk from that book also. And that concludes our current segment. This is the reflection of this segment. When will you take your signature strength test? Again, we went through the signature strength, VIA, signature strength. Go online and take your signature strength test. Next question is, how can you start an upward spiral? How can you start an upward spiral? And my next question is, have you heard about Stoicism? Have you heard about Stoicism? And please watch my video on YouTube on Stoicism, Healthy Living with Dr. Aajay Shah on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. That video summarizes everything about Stoicism in about an hour. That concludes our current segment. Again, we are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram. Subscribe to all social media. Please invite your friends and family. And we post every day, essentially 5 to 6 times, different health tips, different tips on healthy living, on physical health, mental health, spiritual health. So I can assure you, I take a lot of efforts. I spend a lot of time. I have a great social media person, Hannah. She helps me every day. So again, please like us on all different social media. Thank you. Again, this is Dr. Aajay Shah. This is our happiness interactive workshop. This is segment number 14. Please view on YouTube segment 1 to 13. 1 to 13. This is segment number 14. This segment starts with a great person, Dr. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Dr. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I hope I didn't butcher his name, but a great person. He has written a book called Flow. A great book. I highly recommend. I have it. I read it. A great book to buy and read. So what is flow? Flow essentially is being fully immersed into an activity, with full of energy, full of enjoyment, when you don't have any sense of time passing. So again, this is the flow state, being fully immersed into an activity, fully immersed with full energy, with full enjoyment, when you don't even know the time is passing. So get into the flow state. Essentially, you are into the zone. You are essentially into the zone. Many sports players, many gymnasts, many musicians, many surgeons, many singers, many cooks get into the flow. It can be done with any type of work. It can be done with any type of work. You can be in flow, even just cleaning your house. You can be in flow, shoveling the snow. You can be flow, gardening your plants. So you can be flow with anything. For me, getting into the flow is one of them is reading and walking. I love to read and walk at the same time. We have a big kitchen in our house. So many times I'm making circles in our kitchen around the island, and I'm reading a book and walking at the same time. So I walk sometimes 10 miles reading a book or two or three while I'm walking, and I get into the flow. Giving live, Facebook Live, I get into the flow. Like you can see right now, I'm in the flow right now. Seeing my patients, I also get into the flow. So what is flow? Features of flow, when you get into the flow, you have a challenging but attainable activity. So the activity challenges you a little bit. So it is slightly more difficult than what your current skills are, but it is definitely attainable. You have a strong focus. You are very focused on that activity. It is rewarding intrinsically. You're doing it because it gives you internal joy, internal joy. You're not doing it for external reward. So you're doing it because intrinsic joy is happening. It gives you a feeling of serenity. It almost gives you a feeling of calmness. Even though you are active, internally you are very calm. It also makes you lose your self-consciousness. You are no longer a self-conscious, and it gives you timelessness. It essentially makes you timeless. You don't even know that time is passing. So how can you get into the flow? So have a right balance of challenge and skill. Not have too much skill and too little challenge because you'll be bored, or not have very low challenge and low skill because you'll be apathy, or you have very high challenge and low skill, then you will be into anxiety and you'll be worried. So essentially having a slight high challenge and have adequate skills, and you will have very high chance of getting flow. As a matter of fact, best memories are created when we are in flow. I remember some of my memories when I was in flow. So more about flow. Actually, they said that when you are busy doing certain activity, you are more into flow. So more flow states happen when you are at work instead of when you are leisure at home. More flow happens when you're working, when you are retired. So again, flow paradoxically happens when you actually are active. Most people think that leisure will give you more fun, but in my opinion, and Dr. Mihali's opinion, actually getting active, getting into flow gives you more happiness and more joy. So I want you to even pick the leisure activity which gets you into flow. Instead of just watching mindless TV for hours, which doesn't get you into flow, do an activity which could be cooking, which could be gardening, which could be crocheting, which could be reading a book. Any leisure activity which gets you into flow, do those activities. So again, those just don't mindlessly watch TV because you think that's going to make you happy. That's not going to give you the happiness. That's not going to give you the flow. So I'm going to show you a person who was in flow in 1990s and early 2000. So I'm going to show you a person. Any guess on that person? Any guess on that person? Again, hopefully all Americans know this person, even many people in the world. As I understand, this person was #1 sports person in the world when he was playing. And that person is Michael Jordan. Great player from Chicago Bulls, wearing number 23 jersey. Who else is always in flow? Again, this person is dear to my heart, and that's our son, Amish. Here he is, people who can see, he finished his law from Harvard Law, laying very much casually with a great style, holding his Harvard folder, wearing cool sunglasses. He's always in the flow. And what is the reason for his flow, being in the flow for the last 9 years? Again, some bragging of my family here. And the reason for him being in the flow for the last 9 years is his great wife of 2 years, Ali. You can see the happiness, you can see the joy on both of their face. One picture is from a reception last year at our house. Other picture is at the time of his wedding in California. You can see both of them having tremendous amount of joy being with each other. But Amish is in the flow because Ali is with him. So who else is always in the flow? And that's our great daughter, Saloni. Hope she likes the picture I chose. She doesn't know that I chose these pictures. She's always smiling. You can see a big smile. She's always smiling. She's in a great medical school at Jefferson in Philadelphia. She just finished her first year, matter of fact, yesterday. And you can see that when I'm with her, I'm in the flow too. Big smile on everybody's face. You can see my smile, you can see her smile. And I'll show you another person at the end of this talk when I'm in the flow and when I'm happy. That slide is a surprise slide at the end of this talk. So again, what else makes us happy? So learning new things also makes us happy. Learning new things also makes us happy. So when you try to learn new things, have an intrinsic motivation, not extrinsic motivation. Again, intrinsic motivation. And that's where this new concept comes, which was by Carol Dweck, another great book called Mindset, a book Mindset, where she says that have a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. So growth mindset is the one where person who has a growth mindset thinks that hard work will make difference. They focus more on learning, not on outcomes. And they think hard work is a good thing to do. They want to learn more. They see their mistakes and they learn from it, and they're very resilient. So again, this is the growth mindset. And obviously, opposite is the fixed mindset. And you can actually change your mindset from fixed mindset to growth mindset with intention, with action, and with coaching. That brings us to the next topic of how to be happy. And this is a great quote from Dalai Lama, that when we feel love and kindness towards others, it not only makes others feel loved and cared for, but it helps us also to develop inner happiness and peace. Again, when we are kind to others, it brings inner happiness and peace to ourselves. Great quote from Dalai Lama. So that brings us to the next slide, next topic, the kindness to ourselves, called self-compassion, and kindness to others brings us the happiness. Again, kindness to ourselves. So it starts with self-compassion. If we are kind to ourselves, it definitely will give us more happiness, more joy. But we need to be happy with others also. Kind people typically are happier, and happy people are typically kinder. So definitely have one or more act of kindness every day. It can be very small act of kindness, just holding a door open to another person who is walking behind you, just holding a door open. When you have a higher income, when you have a surplus income, when you have surplus resources, do a charitable donations. Even donating as small as $5 or $10 can give you happiness. And that's where that book, I described it before, book called Happy Money, where how you can use your surplus money to be happier. The next thing is taking ownership of a living thing. This also gives a lot of happiness and a lot of joy. To give you an example, when a mom who has suffered mental illness and depression, when a child is born, suddenly that mom has a new energy, new lease on the life, new happiness, new joy. So again, taking ownership of a living thing. There was a study done where a nursing home person was given a living plant to water the plant, to watch out the condition of the plant. That person was happier. So taking care of any living thing, even taking care of a pet, owning a dog or a cat also give you more chance of happiness, particularly if you're living alone, if you're a lonely person. That brings us to the next topic, how to handle regret. All of us have some regrets in life. Obviously, the less regrets we have, in my opinion, I want to have a least amount of regrets on my last day of life. So how to handle regrets? Regret of omission typically lasts longer. But regret of commission, that means whenever you take any action, those regrets last less. That gives another one major repetition of the slide, where the same father on a street, a homeless person standing with his daughter, and I can see the great joy on both of them. He's a homeless person, probably has not had a meal for a day or two. I can see the joy on both of their face. Daughter almost thinks that her father is the king of this planet, king of this earth, and I can see that joy and happiness on daughter's face as if she is a daughter of Bill Gates. Again, a great slide. Hope you can see it. On YouTube, you definitely will be able to see it. That gives us the conclusion of our current segment, and let's reflect on this segment. My first question to you is, when was the last time you were in the flow state? Again, remember what the flow state means, being in the zone. When was the last time you were in the flow state? When was the last act of your kindness? Next is, do you have any regrets? How can you overcome that? How can you go back and fix? How can you go forward and fix them? How can you go forward and fix them? And my last question is, do you have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? And how can you become from fixed mindset to a growth mindset? Again, that concludes our current segment. There are 20 segments. Again, we are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram. Please like us on all social platforms. Invite your friends, your family members. We post on a regular basis all the different tips on healthy living, physical living, mental healthy living, and spiritual healthy living. I take a lot of pride. I give a lot of efforts. I spend at least 2 hours every day on posting our social platform. I have great support from Hannah, great support from my wife, from my kids. So again, please reach out to all our social platforms. Thank you. Again, this is Dr. Aajay Shah. I'm doing this happiness workshop. This is segment number 15. Please watch on YouTube segment 1 to 14 before you go on segment 15. So again, this is segment number 15 of 20. So this brings us to the next topic, that even the words we use on a daily basis and our facial expressions provides us joy or happiness and reflects how happy and how joyful we are. There was a nun study done that these nuns, what journal they wrote in the 20s and 30s, and how much of the happy words they use, how much of the positive words they use. And then they saw in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the health, the physical health, the mental health, the spiritual health. And depending upon the words this nun chose 60, 70 years back to write their journals, it predicted how happy the nuns were in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Matter of fact, the nuns who wrote more the words of joy, the thank you, other happy words, they were able to live longer and they were happier in their 80s and 90s. Many of them lived in their 90s. Actually, there was another study done where on the women's face, on their smile, if they had a genuine smile, they had a very high chance of happiness 30 years later, and very less chance of divorce. So again, what words we use and what facial expressions we have. Matter of fact, there's a small study done on the Facebook words we use by the individuals and by the community. There are algorithms which can predict how happy you are and what kind of community health we have just based on what words are used. Matter of fact, there is a computer protocol where recording 30 minutes of conversation between couples and between friends can predict how good of a relation you have. And this slide is a great slide. This slide are the words used by men and women on Facebook. And you can see the bottom words are words by the man. You can see the words which men use on their interaction, on their Facebook words. And obviously you all can see the biggest, most frequently used word by man is the F word. Again, men use F word all the time. While the biggest word women use is love you and excited and shopping and hair and love. So again, the way man and woman use different words in their life, on their interaction with other people, on Facebook, on their text messaging, can predict who's happy, who's having more joy. If based on this slide, to be honest with you, women are happier than men. Well, men just not happy people. They use F word all the time. That brings us next thing, that any difficult decision we have to make sometimes can make us unhappy. Many decisions are not that easy to make because they have both kind of consequences, both happy consequences and unhappy consequences. For example, for a prime minister or president to make a decision to go to a war can lead to the happiness for a country and unhappiness for the country. Because in war, obviously, sometimes you can defeat a brutal dictator, but it can kill many innocent people. So again, going to a war is a difficult decision because it can bring many happiness and unhappiness. Same thing in our own individual life, in a personal life, many decisions can bring both joy and sorrow. And that's where we have to introspect and we have to make the most compassionate decision. So again, decision making is not that simple. We have to introspect. We have to make the most balanced, most compassionate decision. That brings us to the next slide, the pyre and worry. Pyre and worry. Pyre is the burning wood when a person is cremated. The pyre and worry. One burns the dead while the other burns the living. Again, pyre versus worry. Pyre burns the dead. You can see the picture on the screen, while the worry burns the living. So what can you do? How can you handle worries? Because people who worry typically are not happy people. Uh, so how can you handle worry? Most worries never materialize. We all have experienced when we were worried about things never happen. So the way I handle it is by keeping a worry journal. Matter of fact, I helped Saloni, our daughter, to do that also. So I have my worry journal for last many years, and I know just by looking at the journal that most worries never happen. So I have a great video on journaling on YouTube. Please reach out to our YouTube channel. Watch the video how to keep a worry journal and write all your worries of your life when you have time, 5 or 10 minutes in your phone, and realize that those worries did not happen. Whenever any new worry comes to you, write in your phone right away. And after a week, after a month, you realize that worry did not happen. And then you will start to get the confidence that most worries are not going to happen. You can also dedicate 5-10 minutes a day or 5-10 minutes a week. I call worry time, where you sit down quietly in a quiet room and just go through all the worries you need to go through, either in a writing form on a phone, and analyzing them. And then remaining time of the day, try not to worry. Obviously, very difficult thing. When you start worrying, you stop everything else, thinking, and just worry. So worrying is something difficult skill to overcome, but we need to dedicate time just to worry 5-10 minutes a day and not worry all day. That brings us to the next topic, is the adversity, how to overcome adversity. So learn to increase your resilience or your grit. There's a great book, Grit, by Angela Duckworth. There's a great book called Adversity Quotient by Paul Stoltz. We'll look at it. So my recommendation to you is raise your adversity quotient. Adversity quotient. Essentially, how you can be more resilient. So it means that you fall 7 times and you get up 8 times. There's a great Japanese way of saying fall 7 times, but get up 8 times. So as long as you get up one more time than you fell, you'll be fine in life. And this is a great book by Paul Stoltz, Adversity Quotient, Turning Obstacles into Opportunities. People who have a high AQ, high adversity quotient, have a higher chance of happiness. That brings us to the next way of getting happy by great Mahatma Gandhi, where he says, happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. So again, whatever we think, whatever we say, and whatever we do are in harmony. And his great quote that my life is my message. My life is my message. You can see on the picture the joy on Mahatma Gandhi's face, the smile, and you can see he was a happy person. And he was happy because what he thought, what he said, and what he did, all three were in harmony. He promoted truth, he was always truthful. He promoted non-violence, and he was always non-violent. So again, be like Mahatma Gandhi. Obviously, big shoes to fit in, but we all can try to be like Mahatma Gandhi. So again, this concludes our current segment. Let's pause and reflect on our current segment. What adversities you have overcome? How is your adversity quotient? What worries do you have right now? Can you analyze your worries? And my last question for this segment is, are your most worries from past ever materialized? Again, that concludes our current segment. Again, we are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram. Like us on all social media. Invite your friends and family. Please watch it together. This video will be on YouTube. This video will be a great video to watch on a big TV. Watch them in segments in a row. Watch all the segments in sequence, and hopefully you're enjoying it so far. Thank you. This is Dr. Aajay Shah. We are doing again a marathon happiness interactive workshop. This is segment number 16. Please watch segment 1 to 15 on YouTube. Watch them in sequence, or you can watch them in a row if you have 3 hours of time. If you're driving and if you have 4 or 5 hours to kill, listen to on YouTube. These videos will be presented on YouTube in segments as well as in one large marathon segment, all segments in one YouTube video. So you can watch them all in one time, or you can watch them in different segments. So again, let's start segment number 16. That brings up to a great psychologist, a great person, our big admiration for her. Her name is Barbara Fredrickson. Her name is Barbara Fredrickson. You can clearly see a big smile, a big joy, big happiness on her face. She has written many books. One of them is called Positivity. Positivity. I read that book in one setting, actually. I read that book in 3 or 4 hours nonstop. Great book to read. So again, we all have positive and negative emotions. Positive emotions gives a sense of well-being, accomplishments, while negative emotions keeps us grounded and makes us cautious for the future threats. So we need both positive and negative emotions. We need both positive and negative emotions. Both are very important. But at the same time, the ratio is very important. So positive to negative emotion, the ratio should be 3 to 1. So for all negative emotions, your positive emotions should be 3 times more. Again, the ratio of positive to negative emotion should be 3 to 1. So what are the positive emotions? Positive emotions are joy, gratitude, serenity, interest, hope, pride, amusement, inspiration, awe feeling, and love. Love is the ultimate positive emotion because it can stimulate, it can create many emotions simultaneously. So love is the most important positive emotion. What are the negative emotions? Negative emotions are feeling irritated, feeling angry, feeling annoyed, ashamed, humiliated, disgrace, hate, disgust, embarrassed feeling, self-conscious feeling, guilty feeling, regret feeling, blameworthy feeling, distrust feeling, sad feeling, envious feeling, jealous feeling, unhappy feeling, fearful, stressed, nervous, afraid, and overwhelmed. So there are many negative emotions. Again, key thing is to have more positive emotions, 3 times more than negative emotions. But we need both positive and negative emotions. So again, there's a positivity ratio test. You can actually go to her website called Positivity Ratio, and you can take a positivity ratio test. I taken my positivity ratio. My ratio is very high. I'm generally a positive person. Again, sadness and gladness succeed each other. They come in cycle. Sometimes we are sad, sometimes we are glad, sometimes we are happy. So both positive and negative emotions are very important. And again, my key thing is pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. We all are going to go through pain in our life, physical pain, mental pain, many of different types of pain. but suffering is our own option. We should not be suffering even though we are going through pain. That brings us an important skill, important method actually by Seligman, important method where it says that every night before you go to sleep, ask yourself what three things went well today and why. Just every night, make a habit of asking yourself what three things went well today and why. If you do that every night, you have very less chance of depression, a very high chance of happiness, and you will actually be very high on a PERMA score. PERMA score. Again, PERMA, if you remember, stands for positive emotions, engagement, relationship, meaning, and achievement. So if you do just ask three questions every night yourself, what things went well and why, you will be very high on the PERMA score. This concludes our current segment. Let's pause and reflect for a few seconds. My first question to you is, when would you take your positivity ratio test? You can go online and take your positivity ratio test. Very important to know how many positive and how many negative emotions you get on a daily basis. My next question is, what negative emotions do you have right now? What positive emotions do you have right now? And my next question is, what three things went well yesterday for you? Again, what three things went well yesterday for you? Again, that concludes our current segment. There are 20 segments on this seminar. Again, this is a marathon happiness workshop. I think it's going to be about 3.5 hours long. Watch them in a row. If you're watching on YouTube, watch all the segments in a row. Again, if you can watch in one, this video will be on YouTube in a one big long seminar also. So either way, you can watch it. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we are on YouTube. Please like all our social media, invite your friends and family. We post every day. We post, a matter of fact, Facebook 6 times a day, all healthy tips on healthy living. Hopefully you like it so far. Invite your friends and family. Again, I'm Dr. Aajay Shah. I'm doing this happiness interactive workshop, and this is segment number 17. Please watch segment 1 to 16 on YouTube, and this is segment number 17. It starts with a great quote from Helen Keller. The joy is the holy fire that keeps our purpose warm and our intelligence aglow. A great quote from Helen Keller. Again, that brings us to our next important topic, what makes us happy? And that's a role of meaning and well-being. Again, if you remember PERMA, I hope PERMA by now you know by heart. PERMA, again, stands for positive emotions, E for engagement, R for relationship, M for meaning and purpose, and A for achievement. So now we're going to be talking about meaning and purpose, role of meaning and purpose in well-being. People with purpose are happier, and you should have your daily purpose. When you wake up in the morning, you should know why you're waking up today. What are you going to do today? What is your purpose of the day? You should have your weekly purpose, your yearly purpose, and your life purpose. And that concept in Japanese language is called ikigai. We'll cover ikigai in the next slide. People with purpose have very low chance of suicide. People who have purpose actually don't think of killing themselves. So have purpose in life. People with purpose live very long. They live very healthy. People with purpose also have a quicker recovery from any illness. People with purpose have better marriage, better physical health. And make a habit of thinking for about 30 seconds to 1 minute every morning when you wake up. What is your today's purpose? What are you going to achieve today? That brings us to the concept of ikigai, essentially what meaning and purpose is in Japanese language. And this is a great Venn diagram. It starts with ikigai in the center and essentially circles around the 4 circles. The 4 intersecting circles is what you love, again, what you love, what you are good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. So again, what you love, what you are good at, what you can be paid for, because it's important we get paid for, and what the world needs. And when you have these four circles intersecting each other, it creates passion, it creates mission, it creates vocation, and it creates profession. And when all four circles totally intersect each other, it creates ikigai, or purpose or the meaning. So I want all of us to have all four circles: what you love, what you are good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. All four circles intersect and create ikigai for all of us. Great concept. I try to live by myself. And the next concept is called psychological immunity. This is a great new concept. It says that we all are psychologically immune. Just like we are immune to many viral infections, many bacterial infections, we are immune to some of the cancers. Same way we have psychological immunity. That means we all have psychological immunity. Even the most negative events in our life, typically we overcome with it. And that's because of our psychological immunity. And sometimes in life, when we are in most difficult situation, we think this is end of our life. We are totally doomed for next 30, 40 years. But fortunately, we always overcome. And that's because of our psychological immunity. And fortunately, our cultures or religions and different philosophies, our own philosophy we follow, have built-in customs to overcome adversity. So this is a great concept of psychological immunity. And that brings the next concept of psychological immunization. Again, just like when you go to see your doctor, they give you vaccine, like immunization. There's a new theory that all doctors, all providers, all psychologists, all the life coaches should give us the psychological immunization. If you receive psychological immunization, you will have higher PERMA score, less mental illness, less suicide, better physical health, better material success. So one day, in my opinion, medical community and life coach will provide you psychological immunization. Again, that brings us to the next laundry list of all the factors that can make you happy. Sunlight, one of the important factors. Get out in the sun. People who live in a sunny belt, sunny area have less chance of depression, less chance of seasonal affective disorder. So get out in the sun as much as possible. Obviously, get enough vitamin D by sunlight. If not, take vitamin D supplement. People with adequate vitamin D level has a less chance of depression, more chance of happiness. Have adequate omega-3, Eat whole food plant-based diet, Eating healthy food also gives you higher chance of happiness by keeping you healthy, not just physically, mentally also. Actually, there's a great book called Fast Food Genocide by my favorite author, Joe Furman. In that book, he clearly says that there are more chances of depression, more chances of mental illness for the people who eat processed food. So again, what we eat also gives us more joy, more happiness. So less animal products, less processed food. Also have a mental venting mechanism for the people you trust. Somebody you can talk to, somebody you can put your head on the shoulder, somebody you can go and cry if necessary. So again, have a trustworthy people where you can go and vent out. Reach out to psychological counseling as needed. Very important, we go to a professional psychologist or psychiatrist and get the counseling. Obviously, get on the medication if you feel you're suffering from mental illness. Very important. The next concept is knowing the difference between need, want, and how to. For example, I need food. I obviously need food. All of us need food. Want means I want certain food. Like, for example, I want a cookie. Not a good thing to do, but I want. And then I have to have that. Again, start with the need if you can. Some wanting is fine, but definitely don't get into what I have to. Like, I don't have to have cookie, because then you are into an addiction state. And setting appropriate goals. This is again a big concept in Stoic philosophy, that set the goals which are healthy goals, goals you can achieve. Don't set unrealistic goals. And again, self-care is not selfish. Taking care of yourself gives you more happiness, more joy. So don't think that if you take care of yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, you are becoming selfish. Just like when you fly, lately we're not flying. When you fly, it says that put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Same way, self-care is first. Have enough spiritual practice, have enough religious practice. Obviously, I'm not a very religious person, but I strongly still a Hindu person. People in Christianity, in Islam, in Judaism, in Buddhism have a strong religious practice. Minimally be a spiritual person. Also balancing eustress and rest and cycling them in a proper way. Eustress is the stress which is a healthy amount of stress, because we need some stress to be at our maximum potential. And I call it eustress. Eustress means a healthy stress, and then having a rest. So again, cycling eustress or a healthy stress and rest in a row makes you the most successful, most happy person. Again, raising your adversity quotient, we already talked about it. Forgiveness is very important. I have a separate video on YouTube on forgiveness. It's about 20-30 minute long video. Please watch that video on YouTube. Forgiveness is very important. People who know how to forgive are internal happier people. Also, balance of perfect life versus optimal life. People who are perfectionists have a very high chance of becoming unhappy, having mental illness. So have an optimal life, not necessarily a perfect life. We already talked about increasing your vagal tone. I have a separate video on how to improve your vagal tone. There's another concept of maintaining a good posture, very important. Matter of fact, there's a Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules, a great book. The first rule is having a good posture. Overcome your fears, make a list of your fears, and try to see if you can overcome. The next concept is mimicking the people who are happy, observing them, and knowing what makes them happy, and learning from them what can make you happy also. Definitely having more laughter and smiles. Watching comedy movies will have a higher chance of making you happy. Again, laughter is the best medicine. You can see the biggest laugh, biggest joy, biggest happiness on this kid's face. Again, this concludes our segment. It brings us to a reflection of this segment. It says that, do you get enough sunlight? Get in enough sunlight. If you don't have access to sunlight, you can buy 10,000 lux light, 10,000 lux light, and expose yourself to 10,000 lux light. I have 10,000 lux light at home. I typically get myself in that light every morning. Do you take your omega-3 supplement like flaxseed? Who do you need to forgive? Please do that ASAP. Very important for that person and for yourself. What is your life's main purpose? What is this year's purpose or the goal for you? Which one is your favorite comedy movie? And my last question for this segment for you to reflect on is, when did you laugh very hard last time? When was you had a good laugh? When was, hopefully it was yesterday, hopefully it was this week. Again, this concludes our current segment. There are total 20 segments. This is again a marathon happiness seminar. Everything you can ever need to know about happiness. Hopefully you're enjoying it. This will be on YouTube in different segments. This will be also on YouTube in a one large one seminar, so you can listen either way. You can listen again and again. Hopefully you are taking notes. We are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, we are on Instagram, we are on Twitter. Please like all our social platforms, invite your friends and family, and hopefully you're enjoying it. Again, this is Dr. Aajay Shah. This is our segment 18 out of 20. Hopefully you're enjoying this segment so far. Watch segment 1 to 17 in a row. And this is segment 18. Let's start with segment 18. This segment is very important. It starts with the role of optimism and how to increase it. Optimism is a form of habits of thinking. Again, optimism is how we think. Optimism can be learned. And optimist people typically have less chance of depression, they're better physical health, they live longer. So what is optimistic thinking? Optimistic people actually, they think whenever any negative events happen, that this event happens to me rarely. So again, they think this thing happens to me rarely. Doesn't matter how often it happens, but they think that it happens to me rarely. They think that this bad event or negative experience will last a very short time. This is not end of life. This is not doom feeling. They think this is normal part of life. Positive, negative things happen in a cyclical way. They typically think it's not my fault, optimistic people. They think that it's a small part of the total life, small part of the total life. This is not their whole life. Optimistic people think that I can fix it, whatever is happening. Optimistic people think that whatever I can do will make a difference. So again, these are the quality of optimistic people. And there are 3 P's you can remember: permanent, pervasive, and personal. Permanent means optimistic people think whatever is happening is not permanent. Pervasive means they think whatever is happening is only small part of their life. It's not very pervasive. And they don't take this thing personally. They don't think it's their personal fault. You can actually take an optimism test. Martin Seligman has this test, optimism, at University of Pennsylvania, so to see how optimistic you are. And there are some very negative effects of being pessimists. People who are pessimists, they have a 3 times higher chance of dying after first heart attack. So again, people after a heart attack, if they are pessimists, they have higher chance of 3 times higher chance of dying. And again, a person who is in a last quantile of optimism, people who are pessimists, they actually have the same health as if they are smoking 2.5 packs per day. So pessimist people, they behave as if they are 2.5 pack smoker. Obviously, if you're a smoker and pessimist, that's the worst thing to do. And there's a concept of learned helplessness where nothing you can do will make difference. That's essentially giving up or resigning from having hope. This is a very, very poor situation, almost like an apathy, like we talked earlier about apathy. This is a role of learned helplessness. I don't want anybody to go to this situation. We all have gone through learned helplessness where we have give up on situation. Fortunately, we come out of it, but this is the situation which can lead to many higher chance of depression, many higher chance of unhappiness. So never go through learned helplessness. So how can you increase your optimism? Any pessimist, any pessimistic person can increase their optimism. This is a great method by Martin Seligman, and it's ABCDE method, ABCDE method. A stands for adversity. So you analyze what the negative situation is going in your life. You say, what's the adversity? B is for belief. You know what your belief is, whatever you are pessimistically thinking. So B is your pessimistic belief. C is the consequences, what those consequences will happen from negative event. And D and E is the one how you can overcome this pessimistic attitude. You can overcome by distracting yourself, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. But the method which works mostly is by disputing. You dispute your pessimistic attitude, your pessimistic belief. And once you dispute it, you can actually energize and you can overcome that pessimistic attitude. So let me give you an example. If you are on a healthy diet going right now, let's say you decide you're going to start eating very healthy now on. So again, you're on a healthy diet mission. And last night you went out to a restaurant and you had one slice of cheese pizza or non-cheese pizza if you are a vegan. I typically have a non-slice pizza. One slice of thin crust cheese pizza or non-cheese pizza. Now you are sitting at home and you are becoming very pessimistic. So adversity was eating that small size of pizza. Belief was that you broke your healthy eating mission, and you are going to regret it. And you think the consequence will be that you will give up on this healthy eating, and you will gain weight, and you will be unhappy. So again, you've gone through the cycle of adversity, belief, and consequence. So how can you dispute that? You can dispute that by saying that you only had one slice, hopefully without cheese. You're disputing that you had only one slice. You're saying that it has only maybe 150 calories. Obviously, if you had a cheese pizza and a thick crust, it can be 400 calories. But again, you had only low calories, and you had a salad with that pizza, and you only broke this healthy eating once this week. You can either fast next 1 or 2 meals and overcome that calorie gain. So you're disputing all this thing. You are saying that you followed 20 out of 21 meals this week in a very strict way. So you're essentially disputing your belief that you broke, and it's a doom feeling, it's a pessimistic feeling. So again, you can dispute your belief by analyzing, by writing it down. And once you dispute that feeling, you can energize yourself, and you can come out of that pessimistic, vicious spiraling down. So again, ABCDE method, I want all of us to be very optimistic. Again, optimism is the way you can be happy. Optimism, the way you can be healthy. Take your optimism test to see how optimistic you are. There's a great book, again, by Martin Seligman. He is my favorite author. It's called Learn Optimism. I have that book, great book to read. If you feel like if you're not optimistic enough, read this book. The next concept is making a list of happiness boosters, and do it at least one thing from the list every day. So create your own list of happiness boosters and doing one thing that every day. I have my own list. For example, I already explained that I walk and read in my kitchen. That's my happiness booster. I do it every evening. Every evening, I do it every day. I walk and read every day. I spend time with my wife and kids. That's my happiness booster. I do Facebook Live like I'm doing right now. That's my happiness booster. I go to bookstore and have a coffee there. That's my happiness booster. So again, this is my happiness booster. You can see it. It's a great bookstore called Schuler Books in Okemos. You can see thousands of books. I go there, sit there, and I take like sometimes 10 books from the shelf. Sometimes I buy, sometimes I just read there. I spend sometimes 3-4 hours over there, sometimes 6 hours over there, and that's my happiness booster. Again, this is my current happiness booster. You can see me happy right now. All of you can see how happy I am on Facebook, on YouTube. You can see me. So when I go Facebook Live, again, that's my happiness booster. Again, there's another concept called creating your own happiness corporation. This concept came from Tal Ben-Shahar's book, Creating Your Own Happiness Corporation. And your ultimate product, ultimate item you're making in your corporation is the happiness. By having your own corporate advisory board, which can mentor you, teach you, coach you, and critique you how you can make a better product of happiness. And that advisory board can be your spouse, your life partner, your kids, your parents, your friends. They all can advise you how your happiness corporation can be successful. There's a great app called Revi app. I have that app, simple app, which also guides you towards happiness. Let's talk about role of different social media. Obviously, we are on Facebook right now. Some of you are on YouTube. There are Instagram, there are Twitter. There are obviously TV news like Fox, CNN, MSNBC. There are Netflix shows, and how there are WhatsApp. In India, everybody's on WhatsApp. See how it can lead to happiness or unhappiness. So let's talk about Facebook. What are the pros and cons of Facebook? The pros of Facebook is, in my opinion, many. You can stay in touch with many multiple people at the same time. You can efficiently message them. You can see their pictures and videos. You can, in my opinion, it's a new learning platform. Like I'm doing a Facebook Live. All of you are learning from this seminar. You can make an equal interest group. Like we have a Facebook group on weight loss. We have a Facebook group on healthy recipes. You can actually teach to a mass, like I'm teaching thousands of people by doing this thing. And obviously it's free, quote unquote free, because Nothing is free. There is no free lunch. Facebook is not free. Mark Zuckerberg is very smart. He's, matter of fact, I think the fifth richest person in the world now, like 70 or 80 billion dollar. He's like 34 years old, 70, 80 billion dollars. So it's not free because he's getting something out of you. He's getting in your pocket without your knowledge. So it's not quote unquote free, but still it's some free. At least you can go freely at your own desire, at your own will on Facebook. So what are the cons? It's proven that people who are on Facebook more often have less self-esteem, more anxiety, more panic disorder, uh, um, uh, more depression, more wasting of time, more decision fatigue, more compassion, more envy. So again, Facebook has a lot of cons also. Key thing is be the master of Facebook and other social media, not the slave. Again, be the master of Facebook and other social media, not the slave. This ends our segment. Let's start the reflection on that segment. What was your last optimistic experience? Are you an optimist or a pessimist? How much time you spend on Facebook? How much TV news you watch and what channels do you watch? I'm not going to be judgmental. Just ask yourself, what channel do you watch? Do you watch many opinionated shows and opinionated channels, like talk shows, instead of getting real raw news, which you can judge yourself? Next thing is, what are your happiness boosters? Happiness boosters, what makes you happy? And do you have a list of it? That concludes our current segment. There are 20 segments. Again, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on YouTube, we are on Instagram. Subscribe to all social media. Please invite your friends and family. Again, this is Dr. Aajay Shah. This is our segment 19 out of 20. Please watch segment 1 to 18 on YouTube in sequence. They all go in sequence. You can watch any segment in general, but watching them in sequence will give you the most joy and the most learning. That brings us to a community well-being or community happiness. So I essentially believe in community well-being, and that can happen by having more parks, more public transport, more lakes and ponds, more libraries, more trails, more bike lanes, more affordable housing, more access to food, and for example, food stamps, more universal health coverage, more psychologists and psychiatrists, more exercise spaces like YMCA, definitely pollution control, and definitely no wars, better traffic sense, better traffic, more healthy traffic, free education, hopefully free college, life learning schools, and mail or online voting. In my opinion, now we are enough of the advanced technology, enough of safe technology without viruses, that we should eventually have online voting. So again, there's a great picture for the people who cannot see on the screen to describe it. There's a picture of a park, two people walking with their pet, walking with their dog, and I can clearly see that anybody's in that park will be happy, can be happy. Hopefully you're watching on YouTube, hopefully you're watching on Facebook. There's also workplace well-being, and Martin Seligman has put 1.1 million soldiers of US military through PERMA training. Again, PERMA, P for positive emotions, E for engagement, R for relationship, M for meaning and purpose, A for achievements, PERMA training. And soldiers, all the soldiers have gone through PERMA training. They have less depression, less anxiety, less post-traumatic stress disorder, and less chance of suicide. This brings us to the world happiness. So what are the countries which are happy in the world? Number one is Finland. Number two is Norway. Number three is Denmark. United States actually is number 18. We are the most powerful nation, most rich nation. We are number 18. Costa Rica actually is number 13. Costa Rica. Israel is number 11. Much smaller country, much less GDP. There's a thing called Easterlin paradox. that within a country, for example, in America, higher income people have higher well-being in general, but across the countries, that's not the case. So, for example, Costa Rica is happier country than America. That brings us, for the people who live in America, what states are happy states? California is a happy state, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, South Dakota, Minnesota. Those are the happy states. You can see on the screen, West Virginia is not a very happy state. Multiple reasons, but again, we all need to work together to make every state in America a very happy state. So what are the happy cities in America? There are a lot of cities from California which are happy cities. Napa, California, extremely happy city. The cities in Colorado. A most unhappy city is Beaumont, Texas. So again, this obviously is by a survey, not necessarily 100% true, but California generally has many happy cities. That brings us to our next current crisis, COVID-19 crisis. That's a major stress for the last 3 to 4 months. A lot of people are suffering. Many people have lost their job. Many people are lonely. Many people are not able to go out and socialize with people. Many people have financial difficulties. And I can feel your pain. I can feel their pain. Mental illness are going up. But at the same time, like I always say, every struggle can lead to a growth, can lead to an opportunity. So let's do everything in our power to be as happy as we can as we go through this crisis. I'm always with you. I'm always going to support you. Reach out to me, message me, and we always will overcome this crisis. Obstacle is the way. Obstacle is the way. Whenever we go through any struggle, we always can grow from it. Watch my video. There's a video on YouTube on how we can overcome a corona crisis. Again, there's a great slide, and it says, let's replace the COVID-19 epidemic with happiness is a contagion, start an epidemic. I hope you can see the slide. Happiness is contagious, start an epidemic. So I want an epidemic of happiness. I don't want epidemic of COVID-19. Happiness is epidemic. Happiness is contagious. So again, this leads us to the thing that how can we employ all these tricks and techniques? And that's where we need habits and actions. So well-being can be learned. Well-being can be learned. And it says that roots of learning is bitter. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of hard work, but fruits are sweeter. So once we learn, the fruits are sweeter. That's where, again, Lori Santos, thanks to Lori Santos from Yale, Science of Well-Being Coursera course, I got this next teaching, next learning from her course. And that's where, how can we change our habits? That's where the environment versus willpower concept comes in. Again, environment versus willpower. We all believe that we can rely on our willpower, but in general, we can't. It's the environment which leads us to proper actions, proper habits. To give you an example, if you have a cookie in the house, no matter how strong willpower you have, one day you will eat that cookie. But if you don't have cookie in the house, you don't have to rely on the willpower. So again, creating an environment in your house without the cookies is better way than relying on your willpower not to eat cookie while you still can see the cookie. To give you example, in my life, our gym used to be in basement. Both the weight bench machine, treadmill, and arc trainer was in basement. I never went in the basement. I moved all those equipments in our family room. Now, as soon as I come home from work, I get in our family room. I can see all the equipments. My wife is many times in the same room. I have created an environment of exercise, physical activity, and I do physical activity every day. If you put fruits on your kitchen stand, you have a high chance of eating fruits. So again, creating an environment is very important. You can also create phone reminders, creating an environment. You can do a group activity, again, creating an environment, and make it as a fun challenge, and you can create an environment. There's a great book by Benjamin Hardy where he says willpower doesn't work. Willpower doesn't work. And he goes through many different methods where you can now rely on your willpower. Again, willpower is not the way to go, creating an environment. So how to change our habits? You have to set your goals, and you have to set the goals which are very specific. To give you an example, if I want to set a goal of meditating every day, I have to be very specific. That means I want to have how many minutes I'm going to meditate, which is 20 or 30 minutes. Where will I meditate? In sunroom. What time I will meditate? 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Whether I will meditate alone or as a group or with my wife. So again, goal has to be very specific. I have to be able to visualize how I will do it, what benefits I have, what hurdles I have, and then I have to plan. And that's where this great method, great WOOP method, WOOP, by Dr. Oettingen, a great psychologist. This method is again described in the course on Coursera. WOOP stands for wish, O for outcome, O for obstacles, and P for plan. So how it works is you set a wish. For example, my wish could be a meditation. So my W is meditation. My outcome means what I see meditation will lead to. Meditation will, for me, lead to a great health, great happiness, great joy, less chance of my depression coming back. So that's my outcome. What are my obstacles? What time I will do it? I'm busy at work. I have 2-hour commute. Where would I do it? Those are my obstacles. And then I plan to overcome my obstacles. So again, if I start with the wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan, and it takes 5-7 minutes to go through WOOP method. Once you get into habit of WOOP method, you can actually do WOOP method in 2 or 3 minutes. And you can apply this WOOP method to any wish you have. If you have a wish of exercising, you can apply a WOOP method. If you exercise of healthy eating, you can apply a WOOP method. So look up the WOOP method, WOOP, and see how WOOP method can help you. Again, that concludes our current segment. Let's go through reflection. Are you stressed out about Corona crisis? In what way? Next question is, are you ready to change some habits to be happier? Are you ready to be happier? Next question is, what are the top 3 habits would you change to be happier? Next question is, would you do the WOOP method? Again, wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan. Would you do a WOOP method? Again, this concludes our current segment. There are 20 segments. Please watch them in sequence. We are on YouTube, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. Please like all social media. Please invite your friends and family to all the social media. Again, we post every day. They're all healthy tips, greatly beneficial, not just only to myself and my family and my friends, but to all our followers. I take great pride. I spend at least 2 hours every day on this movement, a big mission I've taken up. So please join our movement. Thank you. That brings us the last segment of this marathon, 3.5 hour of happiness workshop. This is segment number 20. I'm Dr. Aajay Shah. Please watch segment 1 to 19 in a row on YouTube. And let's start with segment 20. So where are we going with as an individual and as a society for well-being? I sincerely think this is, again, my reflection of this whole seminar, of my reflection of 200 hours of watching YouTube videos, my reflection of reading about 30 books, my reflection of living 57 years of life, my reflection of living 35 years in America. So my reflection is future of well-being is good. As a world, as a country, as a community, we are doing better in well-being. One day, our happiness will become the main currency, not the dollar, not the rupee, not the yen, not the pound. One day, happiness will become a main currency. One day, a nation will be ranked with PERMA index, not the GDP. One day, nations will be ranked by PERMA index, how happy the nation is, how not rich the nation is. Like industrial revolution, like internet and digital revolution, one day there will be happiness revolution. I see the happiness revolution is already happening. One day, in starting the elementary school, in high school, in graduate school, in postgraduate school, PERMA will be taught all steps of the way. PERMA will be taught from the first day in our life. One day there will be happiness coaches, just like personal trainers. And those happiness coaches will be less expensive than psychologists. I must say the PERMA score is increasing for the last 2,500 years. To give you an example, 2,500 years ago, violent death was 1 in 10 for a male. For a male 2,500 years ago, violent death chance was 1 in 10. 1 in 10, 10%. Now the violent death for male has gone now to 1 in 300. So we definitely are getting happier. My sincere hope and goal that we will measure the PERMA score of every person in the world and track it monthly. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of deliberate practice, a lot of efforts individually and as a society to be happy. But one day, world will soon be a happy place. So again, let's all work together. You can see a great slide for the people who are not able to see the slide. Let's all of us work together to make this world a happy place. So what do? I try my best to walk the talk of this seminar. I try my best. Obviously, I'm human. Sometimes I fail, but I pick up where I fail and try to make it the better next time to be happy. I also try to help my friends, my family, my followers, how they can be happy. As you saw, my PERMA score is high and I'm an optimist. Obviously, I can be always happier and I try my best. I try to use my signature strengths every day. And I try to have a list of positive and negative emotions, and I try to be as positive as I can. So why I'm always happy, you can see a great slide, hopefully on YouTube, on Facebook. Whenever I'm with my wife, Jayshree, this is the reason I'm in flow. This is why I'm always happy. You can see the smile on both of our face. So there's a great quote by Merle Haggard. 2 minutes left on this seminar. And it says, I'm happier because I made up my mind to be that way. So again, I, at a personal level myself, I have made up my mind to be happier always. I have made up that mind. So what is your homework? Your homework is very important. Just like a good teacher, good professor gives you a homework, this is your homework. Take your PERMA test. Again, PERMA, positive emotions, engagement, relationship, meaning and purpose and achievement. Take your PERMA test ASAP and track it monthly. Take your VIA character test ASAP and see where you stand and how you can use your signature strength every day. Start a gratitude journal today. Start a happiness journal. Exercise every day, eat healthy, sleep 7 to 8 hours, meditate. Read books on happiness, watch YouTube videos, watch my video again and again. Make a habit every morning, waking up, what your purpose is. Take every night a habit of asking what went well. Have a strong connections. Make someone happy this week. Be in the flow as much as possible. And use the social media wisely. Again, I end this seminar with a great quote from Aristotle. I repeat this quote again. I said it in the beginning, and I repeat again now at this stage. Happiness is the meaning and the purpose of life, the whole aim, the only thing, the whole aim, and the end of human existence. Everything, in my opinion, is happiness. So I wish you the best to be lifelong happy. I wish you the best to be lifelong happy and healthy. Have the best well-being, and flourish the rest of your life. And again, you stayed with me for almost 3.5 hours. You stayed with me 3.5 hours. So time to be happy. There's a great slide. Hopefully all of you can see it on Facebook, on YouTube. It's time to be happy. Let's all of us be happy. Thank you again. Have a great afternoon, great evening. Be safe. Wash your hands with this COVID-19 crisis. Wear your mask when you go out. Keep a social distance and not worry, we will be fine. We all will be fine. We are together in this journey. I'm your friend. We all are friends. Let's grow together. Let's work together. Let's be happy together. Thank you. Again, thank you. This is Dr. Aajay Shah again. We are on Facebook. We are on YouTube. We are on all the social media. Invite your friends, like all our social media. I take a great pride. I take a lot of efforts. I spend 2 hours. Our social media director, social media person, Hannah, spends, I think, 24 hours a day on this movement. I make this as my mission. I actually sleep, breathe, eat, shower. I do drive. I do everything to promote this healthy lifestyle movement. I've been board certified in lifestyle medicine now. I essentially ask all of you to join this movement. Bring your friends, bring your family members, uh, uh, like our Facebook page, invite your friends. There's an invite button on your Facebook. When you go to our page, there's a way of inviting all your friends just in one simple stroke. You can just press that invite all friends, and all your friends will be invited to our Facebook page. So go to my Facebook page on your Facebook, on your phone or your computer. There's a button on that page, invite friends, and select all friends and invite all your friends, and go ahead and join this movement. Thank you again for staying with me for last 3.5 hours. This will be on YouTube as a one large seminar. This will be also in segments. So watch in segments, but if you are free and if you have 3-4 hours to enjoy, watch the segments in a row. Again, thank you and stay blessed. Wish you the best. Thank you.